Qingluan, you should head back. This malatang won't be good if it gets cold, Fu Hang said urgently, handing the food container to Shen Qingluan. Really, you didn't have to go out of your way to bring this, especially so late at night. I just happened to see a food blogger's post on my moments. I really didn't. Hey, it was no big deal. I was just nearby, happened to see your post, so was on my way. Get back inside, it's windy tonight. Well, then thank you. You get some rest too. Shen Qingluan looked at Fu Hang with a gentle gaze, holding the malatang in one hand and twirling a strand of her hair with the other as she slowly turned. Fu Hang stood silently at the complex gate, infatuatedly gazing at her graceful, slender figure walking away. Even knowing she wouldn't look back, he still gave a small, silent wave. Listen to me, pal, just give up. A sudden voice came from beside him. Fu Hang turned in surprise to see the security guard from the complex's guard booth. I've been a guard here for 3 years, and I've watched you simp for her for 3 years. Rain or shine, anyone who didn't know better would think you were a delivery guy. The guard said this while taking off his uniform, clearly just having finished his shift. I'm just pursuing her. Fu Hang subconsciously shifted his body, looking at the guard with a strange expression. Take some advice from an older brother. A woman like her isn't someone people like us can hope for. Stop dreaming. If there was any chance, you wouldn't still be stuck outside the complex gate after 3 years. You're never getting into that building. The guard sized Fu Hang up and down, then glanced at the electric scooter parked nearby, sighing with an air of what a hopeless case. You're off duty now? Fu Hang raised an eyebrow, changing the subject, the look in his eyes growing even stranger. Yeah, 12 hours on my feet for 150 yuan. That's life for people like us. The guard swung his discarded uniform, glancing back at the night scene inside the complex. The lights were hazy, the scenery pleasant. It was like a different world from outside the Iron Gate. This simp in front of him showed up at the complex gate every few days for over 3 years now. The girl hadn't even let him inside. Anyone with eyes could see what was going on. He was decent looking, but his clothes and general appearance. That malatang, just now, judging by the packaging, was from that trendy influencer spot. Don't let that one bowl fool you. It definitely costs at least 200 yuan. Does this kid even make 200 yuan a day? The guard wondered. Say, what if there was a job? Fu Hang suddenly said, a playful smile on his face as he pulled out an unopened pack of cigarettes from his pocket, skillfully opened it, and offered one to the guard. 8 hours a day, a daily salary of 100,000, 2 days off a month. If you maintained perfect attendance for a month, your salary would double at the end of the month. And if you managed to clock in for a whole year, your annual salary would double again. Wouldn't that be over 100 million a year? The guard chuckled too. Seeing Fu Hang change the subject, he took the cigarette and didn't press further. He'd given the warning because he genuinely couldn't stand seeing Fu Hang act so pathetically. But they were just strangers. A brief word of advice was the most he could do. Who knew if this pathetic simp would even appreciate it? Exactly right, Fu Hang continued. And even though there are no standard benefits like social insurance or a housing fund, as long as you pass performance reviews, there are all sorts of unscheduled perks. They give you cars, houses, even provide training and teach you skills. Plus, all work-related expenses are fully reimbursed the same day. Fu Hang put a cigarette in his own mouth, took a deep drag, and looked up at the softly lit balcony in the complex. That familiar figure flashed past the window, and Fu Hang's gaze was one of infatuation and persistence. You sure have a wild imagination. The guard didn't notice Fu Hang's expression, but he was amused by the words, a wide grin spreading across his face. Just tell me, if a job like that landed in your lap, what would you do? Fu Hang turned, looking at the guard with a meaningful expression. If a job like that really existed, I'd become a eunuch serving the emperor for it. Beep, beep, beep. Fu Hang's phone suddenly rang. He glanced down, dismissed the alarm labeled "End Shift," and skillfully turned off his phone, tucking it back into his pocket. So you see, making money, there's no shame in it. Fu Hang stubbed out his cigarette, clapped the guard firmly on the shoulder, and stretched languidly. As his hand came down from the stretch, a familiar mechanical notification sounded in his mind. Today's salary of 100,000 yuan has been credited. Pursued expense reimbursement of 573. 5 yuan has been credited. Current target's affection level, 63. 87%. Host, please continue your efforts. All right, quitting time. He hopped on his electric scooter, put on his helmet, gave the guard a cool wave, and disappeared in the night, leaving the guard staring at him like he was an idiot. The late, early autumn night felt exceptionally cool, and Fu Hang, on a scooter, was exceptionally cheerful. Shen Qingluan, truly his #1 VIP client, a top-tier green tea master. After 3 whole years of simping, her affection level stubbornly remained within the safe zone. Unlike client number 3, who, after only 3 months of simping, kept crossing the red line, forcing him to rack his brains and use tricks to lower her affection. If a rich second-generation heir hadn't appeared out of nowhere, won her heart, and married her, allowing the system to complete the settlement, he'd actually been a bit worried client number 3 would develop inappropriate feelings for him, thereby affecting his work and stable income. You couldn't simp for married women. No simping meant unemployment. That was something the system had highlighted in bold red back then. Being a simp was a sacred and noble profession. Until he'd earned enough money to last several generations, he absolutely wouldn't allow things like love or women into his life. In fact, anything that could affect his work would be his lifelong enemy. This was the solemn vow he'd made 3 years ago, pointing at his bank account. After unexpectedly awakening the ultimate simp system, a man should prioritize his career. The flashing red light seemed so lovely at this moment, like a late autumn persimmon in the quiet night breeze. Fu Hang just gazed up at it, fantasizing about his extravagant retired life. Aya! A delicate cry came. Fu Hang turned to see a stylishly dressed figure fallen on the ground. Her figure was hot, her stockings thin, the hand clutching her ankle was fair, and her calves above the stilettos were long and shapely, with the play of light and shadow, accentuating them against the zebra crossing. It hurt so much. Her body, wrapped in a figure-hugging dress, trembled slightly. Her drop phone lay beside her, its screen glowing blue. Clearly, she'd been looking at her phone while crossing the road and missed the curb. Fu Hang tilted his head, just sitting there quietly on his scooter, watching her. The red light flashed, then turned green. The woman didn't get up, and Fu Hang didn't twist the throttle to leave. Could you help me up? From beneath her ash-blonde wavy hair, she cast a look designed to evoke pity. Fu Hang blinked, still unmoving, as if waiting for something. Are you afraid I'll scam you? There are cameras here. I twisted my ankle. The woman shot Fu Hang an annoyed glare, her voice a mix of feigned anger and coquettishness, tinged with shyness and resentment. System? Fu Hang kept staring at her, but in his mind, he was repeatedly calling out to the system. Detection complete. Target does not meet pursuit requirements. The mechanical notification finally arrived, terse and decisive. No way. Look at her face. That figure. Her voice makes my whole body tingle, and she still doesn't meet your requirements. Fu Hang's face was calm, but the voice in his heart had jumped an octave. In 3 years, he had handled a total of 5 clients. So far, apart from VIP client number 1, Shen Qingluan, the other 4 had either gotten married or become someone's mistress. You couldn't simp for clients who were already in a relationship. The system's rule was, simping is allowed, but not in a way that violates public order and good customs. His only remaining top client still had a solid affection level, but with a green tea master of her caliber, who knew if some tycoon might suddenly drop in her fish pond, and she'd marry into a wealthy family overnight. Then he'd be unemployed. Who could accept an employment gap that cost him $100,000 a day, including perfect attendance bonuses and year-end bonuses, losing even 1 day of simping meant a real loss of $100 million, no exaggeration. As a conscientious, ambitious, and aspiring corporate workhorse, after client number 4's whirlwind marriage, he had developed a sense of crisis awareness. In the simping profession, unemployment could strike at any moment. If one doesn't plan for the future, they'll find trouble at their doorstep. Client number 5 had secretly married a young pretty boy 2 months ago. Although handling 2 clients simultaneously was exhausting, he couldn't resist double the salary, could he? Besides, having 2 clients allowed for risk hedging and, at critical moments, could create a balance, preventing clients from crossing the red line. Silicone implants fillers does not meet pursuit requirements. The mechanical notification was cold and merciless. Fu Hang heaved a long sigh, looked up to confirm the traffic light color, then twisted the throttle and slowly started moving. Hey, you! The woman on the ground looked up in astonishment. Was this even a man? A stunning beauty like her, graciously giving him a chance to get close, and he dared to ignore her? If she hadn't twisted her ankle, a loser like him wouldn't even be worthy of a glance from her. It would be bad luck. Sorry, outside my work scope. Not accepting this assignment. Fu Hang's indifferent voice drifted back on the wind, sounding lifeless and utterly melancholic. Yinshu Binjiang, one of Hanqing's most exclusive residential complexes. Among its properties, Yinshu 1, the penthouse of Riverside Building No. One had shattered Hanqing's property price records on the day it launched. It was, in every sense of the word, a luxury estate. Just as dawn was breaking, a figure furtively slipped out from the entrance of Yin-Shu-One's building. He wore a face mask, sunglasses, a baseball cap, and even had the hood of his hoodie pulled up. A security guard nearby narrowed his eyes, but the next moment, he acted as if he hadn't seen the extremely suspicious figure at all, oddly looking away. Fu Hang gave the guard an imperceptible nod and hurried out of the complex. If you had to name a downside to this job of being a simp, it would undoubtedly be situations like this. Wealth in the shadows. After 3 years as a simp, he had accumulated an astonishing fortune from the system. Coupled with the system's occasional performance bonuses, he himself didn't even know the extent of his assets. For instance, that 800-square-meter top-floor duplex apartment upstairs, Yin-Shu-One, was a performance reward from the system after Client No. 3 got married. Yet, this dream mansion, he only dared to sneak over and stay a night during his simp's day off. Twice a month. No other reason. It was all for work. Everyone living in this complex was either wealthy or influential, especially the young ladies and young wives residing within, who had a high probability of becoming his clients. If his clients found out he lived in Yin-Shu-One, how many more days could he keep simping? His cover would be blown instantly. It wouldn't be a contract fulfilled, awaiting reassignment scenario, but an outright fired and unemployed situation. Being a simp was a profession that heavily relied on maintaining a persona. If you wanted to simp for the long haul, you absolutely needed a deep professional understanding and to meticulously maintain your professional image. So that's the hidden tycoon. One security guard in the booth asked his partner quietly, watching Fu Hang's departing figure. "Do you know why you got the chance to be transferred to guard building 1? The other guard replied softly, lips pressed together, eyes fixed forward. "Why?" "Because the previous guy, Little Lou, wasn't observant enough and got transferred to the underground garage." The guard flinched. He'd heard about it. Apparently, Little Lou had mistaken a resident for a thief and tackled him into the bushes, and it seemed to be the one from the top floor. Could be this guy? Poor Little Lou. That was so unfair. That fellow just now, with his shifty eyes and furtive manner. If his partner hadn't secretly tugged him, he would have rushed over. So, make sure you memorize his build and appearance. He comes back twice a month, on the 1st and the 15th. His partner glanced at him and instructed earnestly. Rich people's hobbies sure are strange. Could he be some big celebrity? The guard subconsciously looked up at Yin-Shu-One on the 36th floor. Know why Little Lou was transferred here in the first place, before all that? The guard didn't understand. Because the guy before him talked too much. Having money he couldn't spend wasn't a big deal for Fu Hang. He had a clear career plan. He knew his own limitations perfectly well. If he took the savings given by the system to start a business or invest, he'd lose everything, down to his last pair of pants, in minutes. Besides, what kind of business could stably rake in $100 million a year? With occasional pleasant surprises and big benefits, no less? Get real. It was much better to just be a simp peacefully, clock in for work at a fixed time every day, and the rest of the time, he had personal freedom, financial freedom, and the freedom to pursue his interests. It just meant getting married and having kids a few years later. Nowadays, weren't there plenty of people whose marriages were delayed due to work? Weren't all the ambitious, driven, idealistic, and aspirational elites of the new era like this? Most importantly, Fu Hang knew very well that this simp profession also had a shelf life. It relied on youth, and his time was actually running out. A 40 or 50-year-old simp. Who would he simp for? Where would he even go? Simp for the aunties doing plaza dancing in the park? He wouldn't mind, but would the system approve? Last night's situation wasn't the first or second time. In the past, he wouldn't have even dared to look twice at a girl of that caliber, but the system was actually still picky. Who could he even complain to? Therefore, finding high-quality clients was an urgent priority. For instance, this one, Fu Hang, holding a cup of soy milk, frowned at the scene in the alleyway. This was a food street outside Hanqing University. In a narrow alleyway, a petite girl was cornered by 5 burly men. "Already told you. I'll pay you back." The slender girl trembled, her face full of terror. "Pay us back? With what?" A bald man approached menacingly. "Next month. My scholarship money will come in next month." The girl kept backing away. "Next month? Scholarship money?" A disdainful look appeared on the bald man's face. "You probably don't even know how much you owe us, do you? How much are you going to repay next month?" "Girlie, you better listen to our boss and start working over there soon." "Scholarship money, my ass," another thug sneered. "If we go make a scene at your school, you probably won't be able to study anymore." "No, you can't go to my school." The girl suddenly looked up, even more terrified. To tell you the truth, if your status as a university student didn't fetch a higher price, we'd have gone to your school long ago. The bald man tilted his chin up and blew a thick puff of smoke in the girl's face. What are you looking at? Mind your own damn business, scram. One of the thugs seemed to notice Fu Hang slowly approaching and turned to threaten him. Fu Hang took a hard slurp of his soy milk, his steps not faltering in the slightest. Are you fucking looking to die? Seeing this, another thug immediately turned and moved towards him. Fu Hang looked completely innocent. He stopped just outside the small crowd, his gaze still fixed intently on the girl cornered against the wall, seemingly oblivious to the thug who had approached him. A shirt washed until it was faded, track pants that looked like they belonged to some high school uniform. Her hair was very messy from being pushed around. Uneven bangs covered half her face, and thick, black-framed glasses obscured her eyes. But, with Fu Hang's professional SIMP instincts and the professional acuity honed by the system's picky aesthetic standards, he was 80% sure this girl had the potential to become a client. Hey kid, are you deaf? I told you to scram. The ignored thug's anger level began to skyrocket. His slightly trembling fist telegraphed his incoming attack. Fu Hang took a hard slurp of his soy milk, his steps not faltering in the slightest. Are you fucking looking to die? Seeing this, another thug immediately turned and moved towards him. Fu Hang looked completely innocent. He stopped just outside the small crowd, his gaze still fixed intently on the girl cornered against the wall, seemingly oblivious to the thug who had approached him. Can you wait a little longer? The system didn't reply immediately. Fu Hang spoke gently. Waiting for you to be on the ground? The bald man got annoyed too. It had been a long time since he'd met someone so clueless about their own mortality. No, look, let me put it this way. We might be in different lines of work, but I totally get you guys. A job's a job. It's not easy for anyone. So, please try to understand me too. I'm not really. Fu Hang was in a bind, but the system wasn't reacting at all. Could the system be on vacation today too? Could the system be on vacation today too? I think you're really tired of living. The first thug finished casting his skill, wound up his arm, and was about to lunge. Don't do it, Fu Hang quickly said, taking another step back. What? Scared now? No, what I mean is don't fight me. I'm a really good fighter. It wouldn't be good if you got hurt. Fu Hang took another sip of soy milk, pulled out his phone with his other hand, and seriously studied the calendar on it. Is the system really on vacation? It seemed like in the past 3 years, whenever he was on vacation, the system had never spoken. Damn it, get him! The thug whose skill had been interrupted flew into a rage, unleashing an instant cast skill. A kick aimed straight at Fu Hang's stomach. However, before his raised right knee could even straighten, he suddenly felt his body lighten, a wave of weightlessness hit him, followed by the world spinning and tumbling around him. Thwack! With a dull thud, the thug was plastered against the wall in a strange posture, then slid to the ground. See? I warned you, Fu Hang said, putting down his phone and taking another sip of soy milk. The remaining thugs looked at each other, faces etched with astonishment. This guy just flew up like that? They hadn't even seen clearly how Fu Hang had moved. No, wait, he had soy milk in one hand and his phone in the other. Get him! The bald man was clearly no ordinary thug. How could he be scared by a scene like this? He roared and charged. So you're a good fighter? Can you take on 5 of us? Then, he only managed 5 steps forward, barely reaching Fu Hang before he stopped dead in his tracks. This might be a misunderstanding. The bald man's forehead was covered in sweat, his eyes darting nervously behind him. His buddies who had come with him, all except himself, were neatly stacked in the corner. They had all flown there. I know it's a misunderstanding. So what's the situation? Fu Hang said, one hand in his pocket, the other still holding the soy milk, his posture unchanged. Grandmaster level martial arts. Won in the first year-end lottery as a professional simp. As a professional simp, he rarely got to use this skill after obtaining it. Simps didn't exactly have the chosen one persona. Opportunities for satisfyingly putting scumbags in their place were truly scarce. It's just, this young lady owes us money, and we came to... The bald man's legs were trembling, and he was struggling not to kneel. You owe them money? Fu Hang turned his head, scrutinizing the girl seriously again. Exceptional looks, poor family background, alone and helpless pursued by lone sharks. Isn't this the template for a tragic heroine? Can she be simped for? My mother is critically ill and needs surgery. The girl's eyes welled with tears, her arms wrapped tightly around her chest. All right, I get it. So how much does she owe you? Alarm bells rang in Fu Hang's mind. A critically ill mother. This background is risky. Hey, 88,000. The bald man swallowed. answering tentatively. Nonsense. I only borrowed 50,000 from you. The girl became agitated upon hearing this, hugging herself even tighter. That's how their business works. 9 out 13 back. That's why they're called loan sharks. You should stay away from people like this in the future, Fu Hang said, giving the girl a helpless look. Many women like to cross their arms over their chest, often to accentuate certain assets, acting as a sort of support. But this girl, right now, was subconsciously trying to hide them. Her assets were genuinely excellent. A high-quality client. Payment code. Fu Hang averted his gaze and, pulling out his phone, looked at the bald man. The bald man didn't react at first, but under Fu Hang's pressure, he almost instinctively took out his phone. 88,000 plus. Those guys aren't seriously hurt, just fainted. Let's add medical expenses, lost wages, and nutritional supplements. How about 100,000 in total for you? Fu Hang diligently tapped on his phone. The bald man's mind couldn't keep up. He nodded habitually, and a notification of payment received popped up on his phone. Micropay transfer received, 100,000 yuan. Don't trouble the young lady anymore, Fu Hang said, lightly patting the bald man's shoulder. Boss, you're scaring me like this. The bald man shuddered. That light pat almost made him drop to his knees. I'm on vacation today, and I'm in a good mood. Besides, you guys provided me with a decent experience and some emotional value, Fu Hang said with a smile. Opportunities to put scumbags in their place weren't common. Usually at work, it was all simping and fawning. Showing off like this once in a while felt pretty good. As for this girl, consider it an advance investment. A wage earner's market judgment isn't conclusive. What matters is the system boss's final decision. This girl, by all appearances, fits the client criteria. 100,000 yuan was just a day's pay. If she truly became a client, one day of simping would earn it all back. And punishing those thugs? Hadn't he already beaten them? He wasn't a cop. These villains also had their professional roles. At critical moments, they were material and support for a simp. For instance, if this girl had already been a client, this hero saving the damsel act might have even triggered an extra reward. Wait, just as he was turning out of the alley, Fu Hang was stopped by the girl who had chased after him. I really am on vacation today, Fu Hang said, looking helplessly at the girl who still hadn't lifted her head. You have to give me your number, the girl stammered, finally lowering her defensively crossed arms. Fu Hang tilted his head exaggeratedly, a faint unease stirring within him. No way. Is my judgment really that bad? This isn't something a client would say, is it? No. I mean, I owe you 100,000. When I have the money, I'll pay you back, the girl replied earnestly, as if she had mustered all her courage, though her head remained bowed low. It was 88,000. It's 100,000. You injured them because you were saving me. Oh, quite principled, huh? Fu Hang raised an eyebrow and gave her his phone number, proactively asking for his number, and firmly showing her principles. Wasn't Shen Qingluan like this back then, too? I've got it. I'll dial your number so you can save it. My name is Qin Yu Chu. Fu Hang nodded seriously. For some reason, a sudden feeling of melancholy washed over him. Don't worry, I'll definitely pay you back, the girl said firmly, her head still down. Fu Hang waved dismissively, casually tossed aside the nearly finished soy milk, and walked off into the distance. The number you have dialed is currently switched off. Watching Fu Hang leave, Qin Yuchu stared at her phone in astonishment. Switched off? Didn't he just use his phone to transfer money? Could he have given her a fake number? At this thought, Qin Yuchu frowned and wanted to chase after him again, but when she looked up, Fu Hang was already out of sight. Little did she know, Fu Hang was a professional wage earner. He had 2 phones, keeping his personal life and work completely separate. When on duty, his work phone never left his hand. After work, his work phone was never switched on. The autumn sky was high, the air crisp, a picturesque scene. Fu Hang worked earnestly to provide for his family. At 8:45 a.m., Fu Hang, dressed in his delivery uniform, punctually appeared before Shen Qingluan's office building. He held breakfast steadily in both hands, quietly watching the passing vehicles. At 8:50 a.m., a ride-hailing car arrived as expected. The door opened, and an exquisite high-heeled shoe emerged, followed by the stunningly beautiful Shen Qingluan, smiling in the morning sun. Shen Qingluan's income wasn't exceptionally high, but working in such an office building, it clearly wasn't low either. It wasn't that she couldn't afford a basic car, but a goddess couldn't be seen driving something worth only 100,000 or so. More expensive, she couldn't afford. Cheaper, it would ruin her image. Of course, she wouldn't squeeze onto the subway or bus either, so a rideshare was her best option. This actually accounted for a large portion of Shen Qingluan's daily expenses. As for other living costs, well, wasn't that what a simp was for? Qingluan, here are the chunji buns you wanted. I also grabbed a small bowl of Zhang Xiaowan's wontons on the way. You said last time they were pretty good. Fu Hang hurried forward, but stopped at an appropriate distance. A qualified simp needed a sense of boundaries. You could simp, but you couldn't be clingy. Otherwise, it would create an additional psychological burden for the goddess. This was why Fu Hang had a delivery uniform. Whenever he delivered things to Shen Qingluan's company, he'd change into it precisely to avoid causing the client any extra psychological burden. Otherwise, a man showing up at the company every day to deliver things would affect the client experience. Moreover, this outfit wasn't some fake he bought online. He had actually registered as a writer and bought it through official channels. After all, even a simp needed a legitimate profession, right? Chen Ji's and Zhang Xiaowan's are in opposite directions, aren't they? On the way, Shen Qingluan took the food containers, a hint of reproach in her eyes. Expressing appropriate gratitude at the right moment was a necessary means to maintain a relationship. It wasn't much of a detour. Don't worry, I bought the buns first, then went to Zhang Xiaowan's. I kept the buns in a separate insulated container, so they won't be cold. Fu Hang, as if sensing Shen Qingluan's gratitude, felt his eyes flicker, a sparkle in their depths. Don't do this next time, going so far out of your way. Buns are fine for me. The company has free coffee, Shen Qingluan said with a smile, seemingly glancing at her watch unintentionally. How can you drink that free coffee? What flavor do you want later? Caramel again? I can bring it with lunch. No coffee. I haven't been sleeping well these past few days. Shen Qingluan gently brushed her fingers near her eye, turning her head to look at the company entrance. Then Yangji Ganlu it is. Hurry inside. In a few more minutes, the last-minute clock-in crowd will arrive, and the elevators will be packed. Fu Hang, as if suddenly realizing something, urged her on. Okay, you be careful on your scooter too. Shen Qingluan waved gently and walked quickly into the company. Don't worry, I'm a great rider. Fu Hang chuckled foolishly, watching Shen Qingluan leave before happily walking to his e-bike. 8:50 a.m. Looks like I can clock off before 6 p.m. today. 3 years of work experience had allowed Fu Hang to figure out the pattern of his working hours. His 8-hour workday started counting from the moment his simping began. In other words, if Fu Hang came at 8 a.m. to deliver breakfast or provide warmth, he could get off work at 5 p.m. With only one target client, this work model was quite free and flexible in terms of time. Of course, occasionally there would be overtime. For instance, if Shen Qingluan mentioned evening plans that required Fu Hang when he delivered breakfast, then Fu Hang would have to work overtime. However, Shen Qingluan adhered to the ultimate push-and-pull strategy. No initiative, no refusal, no promises, no responsibility. So, with Shen Qingluan, Fu Hang rarely had overtime. Of course, overtime came with overtime pay, a conscientious company, never shortchanging its employees. I see Sister Qingluan is quite familiar with that delivery guy. Wasn't it the same guy yesterday? At the company entrance, a round-faced girl watched Fu Hang leave and asked her companion suspiciously. You don't know? Li Xiaoxi looked at her colleague, astonished. Know what? Wang Xiaowei was puzzled. That delivery guy is from Qingluan's hometown. Qingluan sees he has a tough job, so she deliberately looks out for him, having him deliver her food privately, so he can avoid the platform's commission, Li Xiaoxi explained patiently. Really? Sister Qingluan is too kind. Wang Xiaowei exclaimed. Yeah, almost everyone in the company knows. Sometimes when we order delivery, if we're ordering with Qingluan, we just give her the money and have her place the order for us. Wow, she truly is our recognized goddess, beautiful, gentle, and considerate. But if she's helping her hometown friends so much, why not help him get a job in the company? I heard she's about to be promoted to supervisor, right? Wang Xiaowei's eyes sparkled with admiration, her round face brightening. Sigh, that friend of hers has no qualifications. What could he do in the company? Security? Janitor? We're a company worth hundreds of millions, after all. Working as security in our company would still be better than him delivering food, right? You don't understand. In their current relationship, they can still maintain things by meeting occasionally. If they were in the same company, seeing each other all the time, the difference in their status would be. Li Xiaoxi pouted helplessly as she spoke. You mean, even a blind person can see that delivery guy has designs on Qingluan. Sister Qingluan is so understanding. I think I'm falling in love with her. Wang Xiaowei looked enlightened, the stars in her eyes growing brighter. The elevator stopped at the designated floor. Shen Qingluan walked out slowly, holding the food container. Haven't had breakfast yet? A deep voice inquired. I've eaten. This is for you, Boss Su. Shen Qingluan paused, then offered a gentle smile. For me? Su Qianhe was taken aback, a trace of surprise on his face. I remember you mentioned wanting to try Qingji's buns. I happened to be passing by today, so I brought some. Shen Qingluan maintained her smile, gracefully handing the food container to Su Qianhe. Oh, you remembered I said that? But Zhang Xiaowan's wontons too. Su Qianhe wasn't one for pretense, and accepted the container, glancing inside. Shen Qingluan said nothing, just smiled a little shyly. You're very thoughtful. Su Qianhe seemed to understand, pointing at Shen Qingluan meaningfully. These two restaurants weren't close to each other, and, judging by the packaging, it didn't look like a regular delivery. The food container was also specially prepared. As long as you don't mind, Boss Su, I'll head back to my desk then. Shen Qingluan winked playfully and turned to leave. No rush. There's news about your promotion to HR supervisor. Come with me. Ah, really? Thank you, Boss Su. Shen Qingluan was ecstatic, and as if overwhelmed with emotion, she suddenly grabbed Su Tianhe's arm. Ah, I'm sorry, I lost my composure. Aha, young people. But let me remind you, for now, you're only appointed as the acting HR supervisor. The official appointment documents will have to wait until the new boss arrives. Su Tianhe took a deep breath, seemingly patting Shen Qingluan's shoulder casually. I know, I definitely won't disappoint you, Boss Su, but has the new boss not arrived yet? No idea what kind of big shot it is, spending so much money to acquire the company and not even showing their face for almost 2 months. Su Tianhe's eyes showed a hint of bewilderment. Huh, even you don't know who the new boss is, Boss Su? It's probably some large conglomerate. I've privately used quite a few channels, but I can't dig up any information. But don't you worry, your abilities are recognized by everyone in the company. The old owner took a batch of key personnel when he left, and the company is in need of talent right now. Even if the new boss brings their own team, you'll still be highly valued. Su Tianhe said this, but his heart was uneasy. With you here, Boss Su, I'm not worried. By the way, are you free tonight? If it's convenient, let's have dinner together. We have a lot of vacancies now, and I want to discuss the upcoming arrangements for the HR department with you. That would be great. I happen to have a lot of things I don't understand. Shen Qingluan smiled joyfully. All right then, I'll book a place and let you know. You can go back for now. Su Tianhe nodded with satisfaction, gently patting Shen Qingluan's shoulder again. Walking out of Su Tianhe's office, the disgust in Shen Qingluan's eyes vanished instantly. She subtly brushed off non-existent dust from her shoulder. That disgusting old perv. A married old man still trying to get handsy with me? If you were actually the boss, I might just grit my teeth and bear it. But you're just a vice president without even any shares. What are you pretending for? Just another wage slave. And he made me lose my breakfast. Thinking of this, Shen Qingluan instinctively took out her phone, about to post a moment's update visible only to Fu Hang, but then she suddenly realized something, checked the time, and reluctantly put her phone away. Best not to overdo it. I might need this simp to bail me out tonight. Better go back to my desk and eat some crackers. Speaking of which, I think I'm almost out of crackers. I should remember to drop a hint today. The outrageous life of a simp. This level of simping is pathetic. Web novels these days are getting so watered down. Putting down his phone, Fu Hang, thoroughly bored, opened Shen Qingluan's social media account and idly scrolled through her feed. There was still over an hour until lunchtime. He was currently sitting in a bubble tea shop across from Shen Qingluan's company, the one that made the best mango pomelo sago. This was Fu Hang's daily work routine, idle and boring during his client's office hours. Still, at 12,500 per hour, who could refuse such boredom? Suddenly, an incoming call notification popped up on his phone, an unknown number. Fu Hang frowned. This was his work phone, wasn't it? Who else would call besides a client? If it were a client, he'd definitely have them saved. Hello, who is this? Fu Hang answered cautiously. Hello, this is Qin Yu Chu. A timid voice replied from the other end. Fu Hang's eyes lit up instantly. Who said an unknown number couldn't be a client? He'd made a serious mistake last time. It was practically a stain on his career. It wasn't until Fu Hang turned on his work phone the next day that he realized Qin Yu Chu wouldn't have been able to reach him while it was off. And if she couldn't get through, he wouldn't know her number. Several days had passed, and he'd assumed that gig was dead. He never expected Qin Yu Chu to actually call him. Hello. Yu Chu, right? How have you been lately? Have those bad people bothered you again? Is your mother's illness any better? Fu Hang instantly snapped into work mode. Although the system hadn't assigned a mission yet, Surely it wasn't on vacation today, right? What if this was it? Fu Hang's enthusiasm was met with silence from the other end. Hello? Still there? Hello? Why, yes, I'm here. I want to see you. Qin Yochu's voice sounded a little strange. See me? Fu Hang was taken aback. He was so used to simping that this directness felt a bit off. Is that okay? Of course. Where are you? I'm currently. No, wait. I'll head over after 12. Fu Hang had been about to say he'd go immediately, but then remembered he was still on the clock. Lunchtime was in another hour, and he had to check in with Shen Qingluan. No need. You tell me the location. I can come to you. All right then. I'll wait for you at the Ganlu Bubble Tea Shop in Century Plaza. After a slight hesitation, Fu Hang gave her the address. 12 o'clock, Ganlu Bubble Tea at Century Plaza. I'll be there on time. The call ended, and Fu Hang frowned. So proactive? If the system recognized her, she'd be a major client. System? You there? Come on out and greet the new client, he called out expectantly in his mind, but there was no response. Oh well, the system probably needed close contact to identify and activate. It had been like that with the previous 5. Busy. A pinned message popped up. Shen Qingluan. Not at all. Just about to get you that mango pomelo sago. Fu Hang replied instantly. On your bike? She replied just as quickly. Oh, does she want something? A smirk played on Fu Hang's lips. Just arrived, pulled over. I have good news, smiley face emoji. I got promoted to HR supervisor. Wow, doesn't that call for a celebration? So, I promised my colleagues I'd treat them to bubble tea. Could you do me a favor and help buy them? I'll transfer you the money in a bit. Don't worry about the money. This is a joyous occasion. Treating your colleagues to bubble tea is a must. Send me their orders, and I'll go buy them right now. Thank you so much. Attachment, bubble tea list. Why only 5? What about the others? Fu Hang looked at the list she sent, a knowing smile on his face. These 5 are just the ones I'm especially close to. The official appointment letter hasn't come through yet, so I don't want to be too high profile. That's our Qingluan, always so thoughtful. Leave it to me. I'll deliver them on time, determined emoji. Fu Hang noted down the bubble tea list, thought for a moment, and quickly sent another message. So, how are we celebrating tonight? I have a work dinner tonight, grimacing emoji, a small get-together with some senior execs. But we can celebrate after dinner, sticking tongue out emoji. Many companies are like that. They call it a small get-together, but it's really an excuse for a mini-meeting over dinner. A lot of important decisions are made at the dinner table. So, shall I pick you up tonight? I'll send you the address later. It's windy tonight, so remember to dress warmly. Don't worry, I'll drive tonight. I won't get cold. Fu Hang looked at his phone, a profound smile on his face. He didn't own a car. To maintain his persona, he bought a used commuter car, 90% new. Its original manufacturer's suggested retail price was $190,000, and he'd bought it for the equivalent of a day's salary. You have to dress sharply. Absolutely. Putting down his phone, Fu Hang tilted his head back, gazing up at the ceiling at a 45-degree angle, a hint of emotion in his eyes. Shen Qingluan really was the most understanding and least hassle. She was even proactively handing him openings now. A client like this, she really shouldn't be in a hurry to get married. Treating just 5 colleagues to bubble tea? You gotta be kidding. A department has 10 or 20 people. Even HR can't have only 5, right? A newly appointed supervisor treating only some of her subordinates on her first day? If your EQ was really that low, I wouldn't have been able to simp for you for 3 years. But whatever. 5 cups of bubble tea isn't much money, and besides, I can probably expense it, right? As for tonight, she probably wants me to bail her out. Well, in that case, Fu Hang started rummaging through his backpack. After fumbling for a bit, he pulled out a BLD watch, examined it for a moment, then put it back. Since he'd brought it, there was no need to make a special trip to Yinshu Binjiang. Bailing someone out required a display of extravagance. Some status symbols were essential. At 12 noon, Fu Hang once again pushed open the doors of Ganlu Bubble Tea and immediately spotted Qin Yuchu sitting primly in a corner. Her bangs still covered most of her face. She had changed her top to a grayish-white jacket, but she was still wearing the same high school uniform track pant from their last meeting. He couldn't tell if they were the exact same pair. You're early? Fu Hang sat down opposite Qin Yuchu. Qin Yuchu, who had been spacing out, jumped in surprise as someone suddenly sat across from her. When she saw it was Fu Hang, she was even more astonished. A delivery uniform? Was this a delivery guy? Oh, this is my work uniform, Fu Hang explained with a smile, noticing her gaze. Sorry. Qin Yuchu immediately lowered her head again, looking somewhat dejected. Fu Hang's eyes narrowed slightly. That expression, Was it disappointment? Disappointed to see he was a delivery guy? System? System? Don't tell me this one doesn't meet the criteria. Fu Hang screamed inwardly. Such obvious tells. It should be easy to identify, right? Yet, the system gave no reaction. Hello, 2 mango pomelo sagos, please. Fu Hang glanced at the table in front of Qin Yuchu. There was just a glass of cooled plain water on it, and, judging by how full it was, she hadn't touched it. I don't need anything. Qin Yuchu quickly shook her head. Don't be polite. I can't have a young lady just sitting here with water. Fu Hang chuckled, moving the water glass aside. Did you need me for something? Oh, this. Qin Yuchu seemed to suddenly remember, fumbling in her pocket to pull out a neatly folded A4 paper. An IOU? Fu Hang was stunned. This was a handwritten dial. The calligraphy was impeccable, the format unusually strict, not only noting the borrower's ID number, but also bearing a thumbprint where the signature would be. And the loan amount, just as Qin Yuchu had stated that day, was precisely 100,000 yuan. This girl, Fu Hang couldn't quite figure her out for a moment. System? Just give me a straight answer, will you? Fu Hang cursed inwardly. You wanted to see me just to show me this? After a long wait, the system offered no feedback whatsoever. Frustrated, Fu Hang looked at Qin Yuchu. Yes. Qin Yuchu hesitated for a moment, then nodded firmly. Do you even realize how bad you are at lying? Fu Hang narrowed his eyes with a smile, pushing the mango pomelo sago the waitress had delivered towards Qin Yuchu. Qin Yuchu looked up, startled, but then, as if realizing something, her head drooped again. A flicker of distraction crossed Fu Hang's eyes. In that fleeting glimpse, he finally saw them clearly, the eyes hidden behind her bangs and black-framed glasses. Flustered, yet they held an indescribable clarity. All right, spit it out. What did you really want to see me for? Fu Hang's tone turned serious. I want to borrow money. Her voice, barely audible and halting, was tinged with an unutterable anxiety. Borrow money? Did you go to loan sharks again? No, I'll never go to them again. It's my mom's illness. The last surgery wasn't successful. She needs a second one. I really didn't know who else to ask. So, you figured, since you already owe me once, owing me twice doesn't make a difference. Fu Hang leaned back slightly, scrutinizing the girl. This whole setup felt familiar. Was she genuinely in trouble? Or was this? Damn it, system, say something. Qin Yuchu kept her head down, her fingers nervously twisting the hem of her jacket. How much do you need? Fu Hang sighed, inserted the straw into the cup in front of Qin Yuchu, and pushed it a little closer. And no, it's okay. Qin Yuchu looked up again, a hurried glance, then quickly lowered her head once more. You managed to borrow the money then? Fu Hang pinched his thigh hard. Damn it. One look from her almost unraveled 3 years of my hard-won composure. Have I met a true master manipulator? That look just now. If that was an act, she's leagues ahead of Shen Qingluan. No. Then you're not having an easy time either. I'll find another way. Thank you. I'll definitely pay you back the money I owe you. As Qin Yuchu spoke, she slowly rose, gave Fu Hang a very proper bow, and turned to leave. She hadn't touched a single sip of the 68 yuan mango pomelo sago. Sit down. Fu Hang's voice sharpened. Qin Yuchu sat back down with extreme swiftness, a flash of fear in her eyes. Drink. Highly obedient, Qin Yuchu took a sip. The sweet, rich, milky fragrance exploded in her mouth. Qin Yuchu's expression finally showed a flicker of change. Surprise? Astonishment? The unexpected? Shock. Catching this subtle shift, Fu Hang's heart twinged. This girl, could this be her first time drinking something like bubble tea? You'll find another way? What way could you possibly find? Go back to the loan sharks. Tell me, how much is the surgery? And also this, Fu Hang took off his yellow delivery jacket and folded it neatly to one side. It's just a part-time gig. I'm actually quite not short on cash. Really? An uncertain joy flickered across Qin Yuchu's face. Why would I lie to you? If I were hard up for cash, would I have so readily given those bastards 100,000? Fu Hang snorted, his left hand hidden beneath the table, clenching into a fist. Wait a minute. Is my Dao heart wavering? System, fess up. Is this a hidden quest you set up? Fu Hang demanded inwardly. How much is the surgery? The damn system was still playing dead. Fu Hang, exasperated, pressed Qin Yuchu. This Qin Yuchu definitely wasn't as simple as she seemed. He considered himself a good judge of character, having gone through all sorts of trials these past 3 years. How could he lose control of his emotions so easily? Besides, while the system hadn't confirmed it, it hadn't denied it either, had it? 200,000. Qin Yochu's voice grew even quieter, almost inaudible in the noisy cafe. Is 200,000 enough? Fu Hang replied directly. You're willing to lend it to me? Qin Yuchu finally looked up again. Her eyes, shining through all barriers, radiated a brilliant light. If you need it, I can transfer the money to the designated account right now. Fu Hang said, taking out his phone, his personal one. If the system didn't respond, this money couldn't come from the company account. But whatever, it was only 2 days' pay. Fu Hang had a nagging feeling this was definitely the system's doing. This could very well be another hidden quest. Yes, another one. He'd encountered a similarly baffling situation before, only to discover later it was a hidden quest from the system, and the reward had been Grandmaster-level cooking skills. That was on par with a year-end lottery grand prize. Better to act and be wrong than to miss out by not acting. Fu Hang had found his justification. My account is... Qin Yuchu seemed to have completely lost her composure from the sudden joy, stammering, unable to form a coherent sentence. It wasn't until Fu Hang had transferred the money to the account Qin Yuchu provided and showed her the successful transaction notification that Qin Yuchu suddenly sank back into her previous state of humble anxiety. You transferred too much. A 200,000 surgery will definitely require a significant recovery period. The extra 50,000 can be used for proper recuperation. Otherwise, there'll be more problems down the line. Fu Hang narrowed his eyes, his thoughts gradually becoming clearer. Since she's committed to this tragic heroine persona, the usual food delivery guy approach won't cut it. When you need emotional support, I'll provide warmth. When you need company, I have time. When you need a shoulder to lean on, I have strong arms. When you need money, I'm not short on cash. This is what a qualified simp should be. Temptress, stop trying to sway my Tao heart. I'm claiming this reward, no matter what. The strategy was being executed systematically. The effect, Qin Yuchu fell silent again. Is it just you and your mother at home? Fu Hang adjusted his composure, preparing to deliver some emotional value. I'm a sophomore at Hanqing University, majoring in financial management. Height 165 centimeters, weight 91 gene. What? Fu Hang was stunned. Is that what I asked? No, your weight is only 91 gene, around 45. 5 kilograms or 100 pounds. Fu Hang's train of thought was instantly derailed, his gaze unconsciously drifting towards her chest. You're 91? Just how tiny is your waist? No, you. Fu Hang shook his head hard, but before he could finish, he was cut off again. Qin Yuchu, sitting opposite him, slowly took off her glasses, then quickly brushed her bangs aside, lifting her head to look directly, unblinkingly, at Fu Hang. Fu Hang's brain froze for a moment, his thoughts short-circuiting. Then he subconsciously grabbed the drink in front of him and took a large, forceful gulp. I guess you were attractive, but you never said this attractive, did you? This face. It's even more beautiful than Shen Qingluan's. She's completely my type. This is just playing dirty, isn't it? We were having a perfectly normal conversation. Why'd you suddenly unleash your ultimate? Doesn't your ultimate have a casting time? What about the wind-up animation? I can accompany you. Cough. Fu Hang choked. An extra-large boba pearl shot straight into his windpipe. Holy crap. I thought you were here to help me complete a quest. I didn't realize you were actually out to take my life. Fu Hang coughed for a solid 5 minutes. Qin Yuchu, sitting opposite him, was clearly startled too and made to get up and help, but Fu Hang gestured her back in her chair with a single motion. Coming over at a time, like this? Sinister intentions. What? What did you just say? Fu Hang finally managed, staring at her in disbelief. 350,000. That's an astronomical sum for me. I know I said I'd pay it back, but I'm well aware I can't. So, all I have left is this body. You were right. If you hadn't lent me the money, I would have had to go to those loan sharks. I know what they demand. I know I'm attractive. Qin Yuchu looked at Fu Hang earnestly. In that instant, her timidity vanished completely. Fu Hang saw only a resilient weed, swaying in a fierce storm. System, are you really not going to give me any hints? Fu Hang was completely flustered, not quite daring to meet her eyes. My father lost the use of a leg in a mining accident years ago, and he can't work at all now. I also have a younger brother who just started middle school. I shouldn't have even gone to university in the first place. Now my mother is critically ill. If I don't save her, she'll die. Qin Yuchu recounted her tragic circumstances, her expression terrifyingly calm. A disabled father, a critically ill mother, a young brother, and her, all alone and helpless. The script fit, yet Fu Hang had an indescribable feeling about it. The only thing I have to sell is myself. I've thought about it for 2 days. Rather than sell myself to someone else, I'd rather. Wait. Fu Hang suddenly threw up his hands. This isn't how things are supposed to go. If you offer yourself to me now, who am I supposed to simp for? You might be willing, but if I lose my job, are you going to support me? Sell. That's not quite the right word. As a student from a prestigious university, you should be more mindful of your vocabulary. It's perfectly normal for people to help each other. If everyone just pitches in a little, the world will become. I'm not a child anymore. Qin Yuchu interrupted Fu Hang for the first time, her gaze resolute, her expression firm. Your kindness. Right now, the only way I can repay it is. There are many ways to repay a kindness. You said it yourself, you just can't pay back the money right now. Money. Why would you need to? Exchange your body for it? Your way of thinking, fellow student, is very problematic. Fu Hang straightened up, unconsciously pulling his chair back an inch. But if I can't do anything? Who says you can't do anything? You. Put your hands down first. Your hair is all messy. Your glasses. Put your glasses back on. Fu Hang interrupted her again, determined not to give her a chance to finish her spiel. Look, you're so beauty, cough, cough. You're so outstanding. You can definitely help me with other things. Other than what you're thinking right now. Like, think about it yourself. Fu Hang anxiously picked up his milk tea, instinctively wanting to take another big gulp, but only managed a small, trepidatious sip. Fu Hang's words seemed to have an effect. Qin Yuchu, who had smoothed her bangs and put her glasses back on, seemed to be thinking seriously. Don't rush. Think carefully. Someone as outstanding as you must have many talents. Fu Hang coaxed gently. I get good grades. After a long pause, Qin Yuchu hesitantly mentioned a talent. Grades. Fu Hang tried to connect this to the professional mindset he'd cultivated over 3 years as a simp, but he racked his brains and couldn't think of any connection between good grades and himself. Yes, I was the top scorer in the liberal arts stream for the college entrance exams in Southwest Province that year. At Hanqing University, I'm first in every subject. As she said this, a glimmer of pride finally appeared in Qin Yuchu's eyes. That's it. Fu Hang suddenly clapped his hands together. See? You're so outstanding, and you're studying finance. You definitely have a boundless future. A mere 350,000? That's nothing. But this major, it's not meant for people like me. The light in Qin Yuchu's face instantly vanished. It's not that absolute. Fu Hang awkwardly picked up his milk tea again. As expected of a top student, not easy to fool. I chose this major back then thinking it would be easy to make money and help my family. But only after coming to the big city did I truly understand that I'm not cut out for finance. The more I study, the more I realize this. Fu Hang fell silent. He had a close buddy who had also majored in finance. 3 years after graduation, his buddy went back to his hometown to open a supermarket. Are you looking down on me? After a long silence, Qin Yuchu spoke again. Why is this never ending? I lent her money, and now I'm the one feeling guilty? What are you talking about? Let me tell you clearly. The reason you think this way is because you haven't entered the workforce yet, haven't truly experienced the world of finance. Don't be misled by inaccurate information from books and the internet. How about this? Let's not talk about repaying the money for now. I believe with your abilities, you'll definitely be able to pay it back in the future. As for you feeling bad about it, how about this? I'll arrange an internship for you at my company. On one hand, it'll let you learn more. On the other, you can help me keep an eye on the company, since I rarely go there myself. Fu Hang slapped his thigh, a new train of thought suddenly opening up. This naive little girl, with her pitiful background, has probably never even had milk tea. A small favor moves her to offer herself. She truly hasn't seen the evils of the world. Let her enter society sooner, get exposed to those scumbags. Outstanding young men, and broaden her horizons. What do those clueless boys at school know? A pair of glasses and a few strands of bangs are enough to cloud their judgment, making this girl unable to recognize her own worth even now. Selling herself for 350,000? Ridiculous. The watch I gave Shen Qingluan for her birthday last year cost 150,000, and aren't I still standing outside her apartment complex now? I even have to change into a delivery uniform to bring her breakfast at her company. Once this girl's eyes are opened, then when I go simp for her, won't that be delightful? Maybe she'll become the next Shen Qingluan. After simping for a few years, I can retire in glory. Won't yacht parties, nightly revelries, and a life of luxury be fantastic then? A top-tier simp doesn't just find targets, they cultivate them. Finally feeling like he was back on his familiar track, a strange light gleamed in Fu Hang's eyes. Company? You have a company. Qin Yuchu's gaze subconsciously drifted to the delivery uniform on the side. Of course. Otherwise, did you think I saved up all that money from delivering food? Fu Hang raised an eyebrow and placed the delivery uniform on a chair. Intern at your company? Qin Yuchu was still very uncertain. She had mentally prepared herself extensively before coming, but after meeting Fu Hang, everything was completely different from what she had imagined. Yes, don't overthink it. It's just an internship with the same pay and conditions as a regular intern. You'll go in 3, no 2, 1 day a week, 2 half-days a week. After all, your studies are your priority. 1 day a week? You still owe me money. If you don't study hard, how will you pay me back in the future? That's settled then. I'll make a call to arrange it. Fu Hang, for once, adopted his overbearing CEO persona. He raised a hand to stop Qin Yuchu from speaking further, then turned and pulled out his phone. A company? Fu Hang actually did have one. It was a gift from the system for its 3rd anniversary year-end bonus. But Fu Hang had never paid any attention to it. Some guy claiming to be a lawyer had just approached him and made him sign a pile of documents. Run the company? He wasn't that delusional. Fu Hang knew his own limitations. Wouldn't he just be causing trouble if he tried to manage it? And besides, what kind of company could reliably generate $100 million in profit annually? The most important thing for a person is to understand priorities, to know what to pursue and what to let go. What was his profession? A SIMP, the system-certified ultimate SIMP, focusing his energy on his targets, making sure they were happy. That was the true path to success. If he really had spare energy, couldn't he spend it developing and finding more targets? Why waste his efforts on some company? Lawyer Zhang? It's me. Yes. Are all the formalities sorted out? Good, that's good. I won't be coming over. Just have them keep everything as it is. Yes. There's just one thing I need your help with. I have a friend who wants to intern at the company. Seeing as I don't know anyone there, could you help arrange it? That would be great. Thank you so much. I'll have my friend contact you? Okay. I'll have her get in touch with you shortly. At 3 o'clock that afternoon, Qin Yuchu, dressed in a newly bought business suit, stood nervously at the foot of the Yuanbo trading building. Beside her was the man who called himself Lawyer Zhang. Is this Mr. Fu's company? Qin Yuchu asked again, her voice laced with uncertainty. Yes, I've already spoken with HR. Let's go in. Lawyer Zhang smiled with an affability that seemed out of place for his profession. Qin Yuchu took a deep breath and looked up again at the towering building before her. At noon, after Fu Hang made that call, he had left, leaving behind 10,000 yuan as a new employee work attire allowance. She'd been so flustered by the unexpected allowance that she hadn't even had a chance to ask what company it was or what it did. What kind of company gives interns an allowance for work clothes? Her debt had just increased again, but what she hadn't expected was that Mr. Fu's company was actually Hanqing's renowned Yuanbo trading. This was a major corporation valued at over 100 million. As a top finance student from Hanqing University, she naturally knew of this company, especially since just over a month ago, it had completed an equity transfer, and the acquisition tactics involved were nothing short of astounding. For the past month, her professors had mentioned it in almost every class, even using it as a case study for them to analyze, research, and learn from. So Mr. Fu had acquired Yuanbo trading? No wonder he said he wasn't short on money. Qin Yuchu shook her head hard, trying to banish the image of Fu Hang leaving the milk tea shop in his delivery uniform. Lawyer Zhang, hello. I didn't expect you to escort her here personally. Su Changhe, who hadn't planned on appearing, practically jogged to the elevator bank after receiving the report from the front desk. The young lady was a bit nervous, so I accompanied her. Lawyer Zhang shook hands with Su Changhe courteously, then subtly shifted his stance, angling himself slightly towards Qin Yuchu. The incredibly friendly smile from before had vanished, replaced by one that was professional yet polite. This must be Miss Qin? So young and promising, indeed. Su Changhe noted Lawyer Zhang's positioning, and the gravity in his heart deepened. Hello. I look forward to working with you. Qin Yuchu struggled to maintain her composure, recalling key points from her business etiquette class as she politely shook Su Changhe's hand. This is the current person in charge of Yuanbo trading, Su Changhe, Vice President Su. Lawyer Zhang thoughtfully introduced from the side. Hello, Vice President Su. Qin Yuchu was taken aback and instinctively bowed again. The person in charge? A vice president? Do company heads personally greet interns these days? Please, don't be so formal. It makes us seem like strangers. Come, let me introduce you. This is our newly appointed HR director, Shen Qingluan. She'll handle your onboarding process shortly. Su Changhe quickly made a gesture as if to help her straighten up, his smile growing even wider. The current person in charge? Current? Vice President Su? Was Lawyer Zhang trying to remind me of something? Or hinting at something? Hello, Director Shun. Qin Yuchu hurried forward to greet her. The HR director personally handling an intern's onboarding? Is this really Yuanbo Trading? The company with a market cap over 100 million? The kind of major corporation her professors talked about? I'm just an intern, and one who only comes in 1 day a week. Technically, shouldn't I be called a trainee? Don't be so formal. Please come in. Shen Qingluan smoothly took Qin Yuchu's arm, as affectionately as if they were long-lost best friends. With Lawyer Zhang present, the usually cumbersome onboarding process became incredibly smooth. The employment agreement clearly stated, just as Fu Hang had said, that she only needed to come in 1 day a week, and her intern salary would be paid according to standard rates. But her intern position, assistant to the president? What the hell was that? So when Mr. Fu said everything would be according to a normal intern's compensation, was this monthly salary of 20,000 also the normal standard? 1 day a week for days a month, meaning 5,000 a day? Even university professors probably don't make that much, right? Sitting in her own private office, gazing out at the bustling cityscape through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Qin Yuchu was lost in confusion. So, am I still being kept? Back in Su Chang's office, Shen Qingluan asked, her face a mask of confusion. Vice President Su, what exactly is going on? This new boss of ours, he's truly incomprehensible. Su Changhe narrowed his eyes, mentally replaying every detail of the meeting. Lawyer Zhang's attitude spoke volumes. His tone, his expressions, and the way he treated him versus Qin Yuchu were all worth scrutinizing, especially the way he'd addressed him as Vice President Su. But that young woman, Qin Yuchu, though she handled herself appropriately, couldn't hide her inherent greenness and timidity. She didn't seem like someone sent to take over the company. Sending such a young woman over at this time, what could his intentions be? So what should we do then? Shen Qingluan's mind was also swirling with questions. Don't overthink it. In short, either treat her as the boss's daughter or as the boss's wife. Su Chang'e suddenly looked up, his tone deadly serious as he instructed her. I understand that, of course, but what about her specific work duties? Let her do whatever she wants. Don't interfere. For small matters, let her have her way. For big matters go through the standard meeting procedures. Su Chang'e paused for a moment in thought, then said calmly, Oh, right, something suddenly came up for me tonight. Let's reschedule dinner. No, I need to contact Lawyer Zhang again as soon as possible. Try to sound him out. The old owner is gone, and the new owner is slow to appear. Right now, at Yuanbo Trading, just as Lawyer Zhang said, I am indeed the current person in charge. Can I get rid of that current? After the equity transfer, Lawyer Zhang has taken over corporate legal affairs. A vice president meeting with the head of legal. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Okay, I'll head back then. Shen Qingluan naturally guessed Su Chang's intentions and inwardly sneered. Men, always stuck in their conventional ways of thinking. Why go the long way around to get information? Compared to the shrewd Lawyer Zhang, isn't that naive little Qin Yuchu a much easier target? Back in her office, Shen Qingluan took out her phone and finally saw an unread message. Qingluan, where should I pick you up tonight? Around what time? The message was from an hour ago. Sorry, something urgent came up at work, so our dinner is canceled. Shen Qingluan quickly replied and tossed her phone aside. Now, where to begin? Okay, you focus on work then. Don't overdo it. I'll celebrate with you when you're free. The reply from her number one simp came back instantly. Shen Qingluan frowned slightly, her gaze shifting away from the phone. She opened a small drawer in her desk. Inside, various gift boxes were haphazardly arranged. She picked up one containing a bracelet, momentarily lost in thought. This simp, it seems like he's always there, no matter what. And I seem to be relying on him more and more. Shrugging self-deprecatingly, Shen Qingluan didn't reply to the message. Instead, she picked up the gift box, composed herself, and walked towards Qin Yuchu's office with a warm smile. Meanwhile, Fu Hang had actually known the outcome when his first message to Shen Qingluan hadn't received an immediate reply. No instant response meant he wasn't needed to play shield for her tonight. Either she genuinely had work, or Shen Qingluan's plans had changed. But did it make a difference? Not really. Getting off work early? Why not? Today's salary of 100,000 has been deposited. Please check your account. Yuchi, you're here? Come sit. How are your studies lately? I heard Professor Lee asked you to do a case study on the Yuanbo acquisition. The kindly old lady peeked out from behind her computer, offered a polite remark, then turned her gaze back, her affection for Qin Yuchu quite apparent. Thank you, Professor Wang. The Yuanbo case is very difficult, and there's a lot I still don't understand, but I've already learned a great deal. Qin Yuchu, not standing on ceremony, paused quietly by the desk for a moment. Seeing Professor Wong was busy, she habitually began to tidy up the documents and miscellaneous items in the office. I've told you before, you don't need to do all this. It makes an old woman like me look clumsy. Professor Wong didn't look up, but she could tell what Shen Qingluan was doing just from the sounds. Shen Qingluan didn't reply, just continued tidying quietly. Sigh, Qingluan, you're still the most thoughtful. Last week, that senior student of yours came to submit her thesis and did much the same. As a result, I spent 2 whole days looking for some documents and couldn't find them. Professor Wong seemed to have finished her work. She took off her glasses and looked with a chuckle at Qingluan, who was now changing the trash bag. Then I'll come more often, Qingluan said with a sweet smile. All right, put the trash bag down. The cleaners will be by to collect it later. So, what did you come to see me about? Professor Wong tilted her head, carefully observing this student she had grown most fond of in recent years. A shame, being born into a family like that. Professor Wong, a few days ago, I found an internship. Shen Qingluan returned to the desk, sat up straight, and replied in a serious tone. Oh, an internship? Didn't I tell you, if you want a part-time work, I could? Professor Wong's brow furrowed instantly. She knew Qingluan's situation very well. It was just that this girl, who looked so gentle and delicate, was actually very stubborn. After accepting the school's financial aid for needy students, she'd steadfastly refused any private assistance from her. It's a big company. A friend helped recommend me. Shen Qingluan, knowing what Professor Wong meant, quickly explained. A big company. A friend? Then why did you come today? Professor Wong's brow relaxed, but her eyes narrowed slightly. You're an expert in sociology. I have a few uncertainties I'd like to ask your advice on, Shen Qingluan said, her head lowered, still sitting perfectly upright. First time in a company. Run into trouble? Not really trouble, just some things I can't quite figure out. Oh, then tell me about it. A smile appeared on Professor Wong's face as she habitually picked up her pen and drew 2 horizontal lines in her notebook. The afterglow of the sunset filtered through the curtains, warmly spreading across the tabletop like a golden, canary-yellow tablecloth, soft, delicate, and soothing to behold. But after listening to Shen Qingluan's description, the smile on Professor Wong's face gradually faded. This friend of yours, is he the boss of this company? I believe so. So, your internship position is president's assistant. Professor Wong's tone was somewhat subdued. Yes. Shen Qingluan's gaze flickered evasively for a moment, but she quickly composed herself. Professor Wong didn't press further. Instead, she leaned back and turned her gaze out the window. Autumn had arrived. The ginkgo trees on campus were beginning to turn yellow, glowing brilliantly under the sunset. But those familiar with them knew that the falling of leaves was not far off. Turning back, Professor Wong looked at Shen Qingluan seriously, a flicker of pity in her eyes. In the end, she hadn't managed to avoid it after all. This time, Shen Qingluan's gaze didn't waver in the slightest. She met Professor Wong's eyes calmly, her own still rippling with that same clarity. You've grown up, Professor Wong said, suddenly smiling. These words, however, made Shen Qingluan lower her head again. The company head met you personally. The HR director handled your arrangements directly. And, on your very first day, you receive an expensive gift from the HR director? MHM. Shen Qingluan looked up again. From a change in Professor Wong's tone, she knew the teaching mode had begun. This friend of yours, he doesn't go to the company often, does he? That's what he said himself. Shen Qingluan answered honestly. Based on this information, I have a few conjectures. You can consider them. Professor Wong deftly jotted down a few keywords on the lines in her notebook. Shen Qingluan also placed the notebook she had been holding onto the desk and began to take notes seriously. Fu Hang had been having an unexpectedly pleasant few days. Perhaps something really had come up with Shen Qingluan, or maybe her work content had changed after her promotion. In short, she had no time for him anymore. Thus, another advantage of being a professional simp was revealed. When a client didn't need him, the simp only needed to check in online, kowtowing morning and night, offering 3 incense sticks a day. It's not like you have to burn incense in person to be considered pious, right? For a simp, it's all about the attitude. As long as Shen Qingluan's affection level remained within the safe zone at the daily settlement, why not enjoy it? So, these past few days, Fu Hang had been loitering around major office buildings, choosing only high-end restaurants for his meals and spending his evenings either at the gym or in bars. What for? Scoping out new markets, of course. These places were hotspots for premium green tea types, all high-stakes encounters. There was still no activity from the system regarding Shen Qingluan. And although his income from Shen Qingluan was stable, he had to think about potential dangers in times of peace. She was a supervisor now. Her perspective and social circle would undergo a qualitative change. If she suddenly had a flash marriage, wouldn't he be totally screwed? But things didn't go as planned. There were those who hit on others, those who got hit on, chance encounters, and those who were accidentally encountered. The system hadn't gone on strike, but it still adhered to the principle of quality over quantity, decisively and resolutely giving one unsuitable after another. It got to the point where Fu Hang started browsing livestreamer editions. Had the SIMP's operating environment really become this constrained? A red dot blinked on his pinned social media app. Fu Hang expertly opened it and saw a moment's post. Another night of overtime. The accompanying picture was a sunset photo, evidently taken from an office. However, if you zoomed in on this photo and turned up your phone's brightness, there was a little surprise. Reflected in the glass of the office's floor-to-ceiling window was a pair of long, slender legs. It's been 3 days since I last saw her, right? Fu Hang frowned in thought for a moment, a trace of helplessness on his face. Looks like I can't clock off early today. Qingluan still at the office? Working overtime again. Fu Hang chose not to reply under the moment's post, sending a direct message instead, although he was pretty sure this moment's post was most likely visible only to him. Yeah, miserable emoji. I've been swamped these past few days. Shen Qingluan replied instantly. No matter how busy you are, take care of your health. I noticed you haven't been to yoga for a few days. Heartache emoji. Once I get through this period and adapt, it'll be fine. Thanks for your concern. Grateful emoji. Then, do you need me to bring you dinner? Fu Hang sent the message, then turned, unzipped his backpack, and pulled out a neatly folded delivery uniform. Won't that be too much trouble? How could it be? What do you want to eat? Fu Hang expertly slipped on the yellow vest and yawned out of boredom. Maybe not. I'll just grab something here at the company. They arrange meals for the night shift. How can you eat those catered meals? You've been working so hard these days, you must pay attention to your diet, or your body won't be able to take it. But you worked all day too. It's hard on you. Heartache emoji. What's so hard for me? You know what my job is like, don't you? You don't actually think I'm a real delivery guy, do you? Fu Hang glanced speechlessly at the time. Come on, lady. I'm trying to clock off. Can't we do this back and forth some of the time? You really don't have to do this. Touched emoji. Big companies are very sensitive about employees dating, especially since you've just been promoted and are in a crucial period for your career. You should be more discreet. Don't worry, I always carry my delivery gear with me. Playful emoji. Let's not talk about that. What do you want to eat? I'll bring it to you quickly. The evening rush will start soon, and I don't want you to go hungry if it's not delivered on time. Fu Hang sent 2 messages in quick succession and hopped onto his electric scooter. Damn it. Careless. Haven't ridden this thing in days, forgot to charge it. Smiling emoji. So what are you craving? Fu Hang scanned his surroundings for a share bike, praying she wouldn't ask for anything too far away. Parking was a real pain. His own car was parked in a lot behind him, but Hanqing's evening rush hour. Shen Qingluan leaned back in her ergonomic chair, leisurely propping her feet up on the desk. After becoming a supervisor, she finally had her own private office and could occasionally let loose a bit. Looking at the conversation on her phone, she gently bit her lip, lost in thought. This Fu Hang. If only his family background were a little better. Being doted on so meticulously for 3 years, even a block of wood would have developed feelings. Her fingers tapped unconsciously on the back of her phone as Shen Qingluan's gaze shifted to the office door. Across from this office was the president's office, which she had specifically arranged, and next door was the president's assistant's office. Today, a colleague who graduated from Hanqing University told me that the Lion's Head meatballs at their school cafeteria are amazing. It's been almost 5 years since she graduated, and she still raves about them. Silly smile emoji. Hanqing University? I'm not far from there. Smiling emoji. Putting down his phone, Fu Hang, looking like all hope was lost, parked the share bike he had just unlocked. Hanqing University is in the west of the city. Really? I'm on my bike. I'll call you when I get to your company building. Might as well drive over, he thought. At least parking should be easier near the university. There was a popular saying in University Town, eat at Hanqing, live at Nandiyu, party at Gongqiyu, and find love at Hanqiyu. The gist was that Hanqing University's cafeteria was renowned. Despite this, it was Fu Hang's first time setting foot on Hanqing University's campus. After asking some helpful student for directions to the cafeteria famous for its Lion's Head meatballs, Fu Hang dashed off in that direction without a moment's hesitation. It was just mealtime, and the line was already long. Students at prestigious universities tended to have regular eating schedules. As he inched forward with the crowd, Fu Hang's gaze swept unconsciously across the people. Then it froze. Qin Yuchu? It wasn't that the girl was so stunning she stood out at a glance, but her signature bangs and black-rimmed glasses were too deeply etched in his memory. Still in that same off-white jacket and sweatpants. Didn't I give you a clothing allowance? Qin Yuchu sat alone in an inconspicuous corner, meticulously eating her meal with her head down. A book lay beside her, and she'd slowly turn a page from time to time. Just one dish? Fu Hang's eyes narrowed. A bowl of white rice, a plate of stir-fried chili beans, and a bowl of free seaweed soup. Fu Hang turned away expressionlessly, not looking at her anymore, but his brow furrowed deeper. Just as it was almost his turn, he jolted, quickly scanning the cafeteria. Just as he thought, people milled about, a constant flow, yet not a single guy spared Qin Yuchu a glance. Are they blind? What kind of beauty standards are the media pushing these days? A strange glint flickered in Fu Hang's eyes, his mind suddenly buzzing with ideas. University student? Campus belle? Top student? Poor student? She's got all the tropes stacked, hasn't she? System. You really are up to something. Qin Yuchu ate meticulously, hardly missing a single grain of rice in her bowl. Yet her gaze remained fixed on her book. Clatter. A tray landed in front of her. Qin Yuchu stiffened and looked up puzzled. In 2 years, this was the first time someone had sat at her table. Oh no, the second time. But the last time I'd been off campus at a bubble tea shop. Mr. Fu. Qin Yuchu's eyes widened. Is this all you usually eat? Fu Hang sat down, staring intently at her. It's enough. Qin Yuchu instinctively lowered her head, set her chopsticks aside, and casually closed her book. No wonder you're only 90 gene, 45 kilograms. Eat this. Fu Hang pursed his lips, pushed his tray forward, and glanced at her book. Workplace etiquette and social skills. I've already finished. Eat. Fu Hang's voice was devoid of emotion. Qin Yuchu's shoulders trembled. Without a moment's hesitation, she picked up the lion's head meatball and bit off half in one go. A stark contrast to her previous meticulous eating. Such a strong sense of obedience. What a strange talent you have. Why are you alone? Fu Hang twitched his lips, the strange feeling in his heart growing more pronounced. Qin Yuchu struggled to swallow. Perhaps it was too salty. She reached for her seaweed soup, only to see a cup of bubble tea land in front of her, straw already inserted. For a simp, these things were basic instincts. There are two kinds of people in university who don't have friends. Qin Yuchu took a small sip of the bubble tea. Perhaps because it was sweet, her emotions quickly stabilized. Fu Hang raised an eyebrow, waiting for her to continue. One kind is the top student. Being around a top student makes others feel inadequate. Fu Hang's lips twitched. Not feeling so inadequate now, are we? The other kind is the poor. Qin Yuchu lowered her head, carefully cradling the bubble tea with both hands, her tone remarkably calm. The smirk on Fu Hang's face froze. His heart felt as if something had pricked it, a fleeting moment of suffocation. Didn't I give you money? That wasn't for food. Qin Yuchu kept her head down, her thick bangs trembling slightly. You blockhead. How did you even become a top student? So, I have to give you separate money for food too. Fu Hang was so exasperated he laughed. Okay. Qin Yuchu suddenly looked up, her eyes, refracted by her lenses, exceptionally clear. Fu Hang was speechless. You weren't like this before, were you? Did I misjudge her? Fine, I'll transfer you the money right now. Fu Hang swiftly took out his phone and transferred 50,000. Tomorrow, get those bangs sorted out and get new glasses. As for what to wear at the company, it's in here. Fu Hang pointed to the workplace etiquette and social skills book on the table. At school, Fu Hang turned his head and pointed to a group of fashionably dressed female students. Dress like them. Starting tomorrow, you're not allowed to wear this anymore. Okay. Qin Yuchu tilted her head up, answering earnestly. Holy crap. Fu Hang felt like he'd been ambushed from the bushes by an enemy with full armor penetration who'd landed a critical strike. Too exasperated to say more, Fu Hang turned and left. When your campus belle attributes awaken and you're surrounded by flies and swarming with simps, let's see if your disposition changes then. By then, once you're used to what simps are, you'll be the next stepping stone for my career. Mr. Fu, did you come specially to see me? Qin Yuchu asked, slightly taken aback as Fu Hang was about to leave. You're overthinking it. Fu Hang didn't even turn his head, raising the food container in his hand. On the way to Shen Qingluan's company, Fu Hang seemed restless and agitated. He hadn't felt this way in a long time. He repeatedly asked the system what was going on with that girl, but the system seemed to be bugged. Whenever it concerned Qin Yuchu, it would just crash and go offline. This wouldn't do. His Dao heart was unsettled. He absolutely had to see Shen Qingluan today. Those online marketing accounts always said, when your mind is in turmoil, a cup of tea can clear the heart, calm the spirit, refresh the mind, and soothe the soul. I'm right, green tea. Top quality green tea. After parking downstairs from the company building, Fu Heng picked up his phone and started typing. Qingluan, I'm here. Should I just leave it in the lobby? Remember to come down and get it soon. The other companies have all closed for the day, so be careful when you come down. Putting down his phone, Fu Heng didn't rush to get out of the car. Instead, he opened the glove compartment and took out a small, exquisitely wrapped gift box. Opening the box, he revealed a small, delicate brooch. After confirming the card was still in the hidden compartment of the gift box, Fu Heng gave a sly smile. These were the little tricks of a simp. You wouldn't see the small card when you opened the box, but it would be revealed once you took out the brooch. Shen Qingluan was engrossed in a report. This HR manager position wasn't as easy as she'd initially thought. Having just taken over, things were chaotic, especially since her old boss had just poached a group of people. Her phone screen lit up. Shen Qingluan turned to look, a smile appearing on her weary face. She had just typed OK when her hand, about to hit send, paused. Tilting her head to look out the window, Shen Qingluan's mind suddenly replayed her recent interactions with Fu Heng. When was the last time they'd been in close contact? It seemed like a while ago. You're already here? I've been swamped, crying emoji. That busy? Do you need me to bring it up to you? Actually, it's so late. I'm a bit worried about you coming down alone. Would that be convenient for you? Not inconvenient at all. Just trouble you to tell the lobby to activate the elevator for me. Okay, my office is 2812 now. Putting her phone away, Shen Qingluan quickly grabbed her compact mirror to touch up her lipstick. Then, she opened a drawer, pulled out a gift box, took off the watch she was wearing, placed it back in the drawer, and put on a beaded bracelet from the box. Then she jogged to the door, opened it a crack, and returned to her desk, continuing to stare at her computer. There was a knock at the door. Shen Qingluan didn't react at all to the first one. Only when the second knock came did she finally lift her head, as if waking from a trance, and offered a gentle smile, filled with apology. Qingluan, you've lost weight, Fu Heng said from the doorway, his face full of concern. Everyone's just trying to survive in this world. What's new? She replied lightly. Come in, have some water. She quickly got up and grabbed a rose-patterned cup, pouring him a drink. You're still using this cup? Fu Heng set the food container on the desk, but his eyes were fixed on the prayer bead bracelet around her wrist. The Bodhi beads blessed at Pujizi Temple. I stood in line for 3 days to get those. I've always used them. I really like it, Qingluan said with a playful tone, then pointed toward another cup near her computer, a pink mug with a cartoon cat. Come on, eat. Traffic was a mess. You must be starving, she urged. Fu Heng took the cup, holding it as if it were a sacred relic. This water's so hot. It'll take at least 20 minutes before I can drink it. Fu Heng. Qingluan didn't go for the food container. Instead, she just stood there quietly, looking at him with a gaze so tender it was almost liquid. That look, how do you describe it? It was filled with longing, affection, contentment, a touch of shyness, and even a hint of playful reproach. That look, it was the look of a fish pond keeper doting on his prize koi. The look of a tea farmer admiring his lush, green hills. Fu Heng froze. His lips trembled slightly. His eyes quivered, then locked into place, perfectly capturing the emotional storm raging inside him. Qingluan, he murmured. The word caught in his throat, voice thick with emotion. His right foot involuntarily stepped forward just a bit. Time seemed to stop. All that remained were 2 pairs of eyes, locked in a gaze that blurred the lines between them. If love could truly last forever, then surely the heavens would shake, mountains would crumble, rivers would roar, and the world would fall silent. 9, 8, 7, 6. Fu Heng silently counted down in his mind. A ringtone broke the moment. Qingluan jumped and quickly snatched up her upside-down phone from the table. President Su, I'm here. Yes, I'm working on it. Okay, I understand. She pressed the phone to her ear while reaching for her mouse, shooting Fu Heng an apologetic glance. I'll be going then. Fu Heng mouthed the words without sound, then pulled out a small gift box and placed it on her desk. Slowly, he backed away. Qingluan was still on the call, but she managed to glance at him. Her eyes brimmed with even deeper regret and something unspoken. Fu Heng smiled sheepishly, gave her a gentle wave, and closed the office door behind him. Outside, he turned around, refreshed and exhilarated. Perfect, just like always. Same formula, same feeling. A sip of pure tea, refreshing, calming, clearing the mind. The taste lingered sweet and smooth. Qingluan was improving. Today's performance had been flawless. If only the alarm had gone off a few seconds later. He could have taken another step, pushed the emotion further. Timing was everything. Back in the office, Qingluan listened for his footsteps. Only when they had fully faded did she lower her phone. Her gaze fell on the small gift box, and the corners of her mouth curled into a knowing smirk. Man, she quietly finished her dinner, then washed both the food container and the cup Fu Hang hadn't touched. After drying them, she set them aside on a shelf. Fu Hang was thoughtful like that. Always brought his own containers. She'd have to find a chance to return them. Maybe stretch the interaction out a bit more. She opened the gift box. Seeing the brooch inside, she paused, taken aback. A few minutes later, Qingluan sent a message. Sorry, today was crazy busy. The lion's head meatballs were amazing, red heart. She waited, but there was no reply. With a decisive flick, she tucked her phone away and got back to work. The phrase she prepared, "I'll head back myself tonight," no longer had any use. She had a good guess why Fu Hang wasn't responding. He was working. It was part of Fu Hang's other persona, or rather, his alternate identity. Game booster. How else could a full-time simp clock in only 8 hours a day? What if his clients needed him outside of work hours? To rest better, he needed an excuse. And work was the perfect one. Even a simp needs to earn a living. Otherwise, how can he continue simping? Game boosting was Fu Hang's calculated career choice. Not the most glamorous, but it made money. More importantly, once he started a job, his phone had to be offline. Can't have a client call come through in the middle of a raid, right? So was Fu Hang working because he didn't reply? No. Fu Hang was off the clock. He was humming a tune, cigarette dangling from his lips, debating whether to hit up a club that night. Then suddenly, at a street corner, a flash of a school uniform caught his eye. Fu Hang slammed on the brakes, staring at the figure walking along the sidewalk, head down, backpack on. What the hell? Am I cursed or something? The figure was clearly a teenager, just a student heading home from evening classes. The only similarity was the school uniform. Still, panic flickered in his eyes. His grip on the steering wheel tightened. That night, Fu Hang couldn't sleep. For the first time since he awakened his system and achieved financial freedom, he had insomnia. At 5 a.m., with dark circles under his eyes, he leaned against the headboard and watched the second hand on the clock tick by. At 7:25, he sent a message. Qingluan, time to wake up. Almost 10 minutes later, a smiley face popped up. What do you want for breakfast? Fu Hang sat up in bed, glanced at the calendar on the wall. Tomorrow was the 15th, a rest day. For the first time, he hated the idea of taking a break. Rest? Screw that. I need my tea fix. You really don't have to bring me breakfast every day. I can just grab something near the office. You stay up so late working. Can you really keep waking up this early? 10 minutes later, another reply arrived. Precise down to the second. It's on my way anyway. Waking up early's actually helped me eat healthier. Fu Hang replied instantly, toothbrush still in his mouth. No cravings today. Just grab whatever you're having. 5 minutes later. How about Lao Wang's soup dumplings? Instant reply. Phone tucked away. Fu Hang stared at his reflection in the mirror. 100,000 a day. Get your head in the game, he growled through gritted teeth. At 8:40, Fu Hang appeared outside Qingluan's company, standing in his usual corner, eyes locked in the usual direction. Right on cue, a rideshare car pulled up. Fu Hang stepped forward with a warm smile. His nose twitched slightly. She's here. The scent of tea wafted through the air, rich and golden. Qingluan. He stopped at a respectable distance. His eyes, tired but still twinkling, held yesterday's starlight. You look a bit. You chew. You're here. Qingluan's eyes drifted past Fu Hang. Her expression changed in an instant. Ignoring him entirely, she snatched the food container from his hands and rushed forward. You chew. Fu Hang was practically allergic to the name. It made his eardrums twitch. He subconsciously turned to look, and Fu Hang's brain froze for a solid 3 seconds. She wore a chic, plain white pantsuit, her long hair tied up high, a neat side-swept fringe resting perfectly on her forehead, softening the sharp, capable look of her gold-rimmed glasses. Backlit by the morning sun, her figure, accentuated by dark gray heels, seemed to step right out of a dream, carrying a hint of shock and pleasant surprise, mixed with a touch of unease and hesitation. Fu Hang spun around abruptly, lowered his head, and hurried away. Holy crap. Damn it all. What the hell? This woman was trouble. Definitely trouble. How could she look so outrageously good just by changing her outfit? Was her seal broken? No, that's not the point. The point is, why are you here? Why do you know Shen Qingluan? Sister Qingluan, that was. Qin Yochu's heart pounded, but thankfully, her recently crash-coursed expression control held up perfectly. Oh, just a delivery guy. Shen Qingluan intimately linked her arm with Qin Yochu's, glancing calmly back at Fu Hang's rapidly retreating figure. This man, aside from his family background, you really couldn't find a single fault with him. That Real Madrid jersey he wore so often suddenly looked particularly appealing. Delivery? Qin Yuchu lowered her head slightly, looking at the food container in Shen Qingluan's hand. This container, it wasn't a typical takeout box. MHM, Old Wang's soup dumplings. Want to try some together? Shen Qingluan took a light step, gently tugging Qin Yochu's arm to pull her gaze away from the direction Fu Hang had disappeared. Okay. Qin Yuchu smiled radiantly, her eyes sparkling. Let's go to my office first then. Yuchu, you look so pretty today. Those glasses really suit you. My prescription changed, so I just got a new pair. Your scarf is lovely too. It must have been your old hairstyle. It was always in your eyes, which can't be good for your vision. Today's hairstyle looks great. Your boyfriend must be completely smitten. Shen Qingluan subtly lowered her gaze to Qin Yochu's wrist, where the bracelet she had given her last week rested. Don't tease me. Qin Yuchu gave a shy smile and turned her head slightly. She didn't deny it? Shen Qingluan's heart skipped a beat. Does she really have a boyfriend? The pair of stunning beauties turned heads wherever they went, drawing countless gazes, yet surprisingly, no one dared to approach them. After practically speeding through 2 intersections, Fu Hang slammed on the brakes, breaking out in a cold sweat as he sat down on the curb. What on earth was going on? Why was Qin Yuchu there? Could it be? Hello, Lawyer Zhang? Ah, it's settled? Oh, good that it's settled. I wanted to ask you something. What was the name of that company of mine again? Whim Trading? The one near Century Plaza? Right. No, never mind. Sorry to bother you. Hanging up the phone, Fu Hang's face was a mask of astonishment. Damn it. This was the most direct, karmic retribution for not paying attention to his own business. Whim Trading was actually his. He had arranged for Qin Yuchu to work at Shen Qingluan's company? Wait a minute. I'm Shen Qingluan's boss. Fuck. If Shen Qingluan found out about this, how could I even try to suck up to her anymore? It'd be her sucking up to me. No time to overthink. Fu Hang's hands trembled as he pulled out his phone and quickly found Qin Yuchu's number. Damn it. Qin Yuchu definitely saw and recognized him just now. He had seen her momentary shock and pleasant surprise, her conflict and hesitation, as clear as day. Qin Yuchu had just picked up a soup dumpling when her phone rang. Glancing at the caller ID, Qin Yuchu quickly answered. Mm. Qin Yochu's voice was calm. Her betrayed no emotion. Shen Qingluan turned aside to make coffee, the fine hairs on her ears practically standing on end. The moment the phone screen lit up, she saw the caller ID. Boss. Where are you now? Fu Hang's voice sounded frantic. Just got to the office. Having breakfast with the HR manager, Old Wang's soup dumplings. Qin Yuchu lowered her head, a smile playing on her lips, her voice so soft it was barely audible. To Shen Qingluan's ears, that tone of voice was deeply suggestive. When a woman lowered her voice, especially to a certain degree, one could read a lot into it. Shen Qingluan had mastered this skill by the age of 16. So intimate this early in the morning? Just arrived? Did they spend the night together? Such a detailed report. Who she was with, even what she was eating. Their relationship was definitely not ordinary. But those same words, however softly spoken, struck Fu Hang's ears like a bolt from the blue, a clap of thunder. You saw me just now? Fu Hang's voice trembled. MHM. Another soft murmur, almost a hum, from her. Shen Qingluan, holding the coffee pot, hesitated, unsure whether to approach, just as Qin Yuchu looked up with a sweet smile. Shen Qingluan returned a gentle smile and calmly went back to the table, pouring Qin Yuchu a cup of coffee using the pink cat mug. That soft hum shattered Fu Hang's heart. Let me tell you, don't you dare do anything reckless. He felt like slapping himself silly right now. Why the hell did he get greedy for some hidden quest? Wouldn't it have been perfectly fine to just lay low and collect his full attendance pay? Sure enough, a man's ambition is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. He'd told himself long ago, develop sneakily, don't get cocky. Now even his base salary was gone. I know what to do, don't worry. Qin Yuchu glanced meaningfully at Shen Qingluan, her tone still level. Then don't go saying anything reckless. Fu Hang took a deep breath. Knowing Shen Qingluan was right there, he didn't dare push his luck. MHM, I'll call you later. Qin Yuchu hung up. Boyfriend. Shen Qingluan raised an eyebrow, a curious smile on her face. Qin Yuchu met her gaze and simply smiled. Hurry up and eat. It won't taste good cold. Shen Qingluan understood and quickly changed the subject. I've actually already had breakfast. I've just heard so much about this place and never tried it, so I was curious. Qin Yuchu wasn't being coy. She directly picked up the dumpling she had put down earlier. Then you must try a few more. Shen Qingluan smiled warmly. One is enough. I can't eat anymore. I'll get fat. Qin Yuchu frowned. Shen Qingluan stopped persuading her. Getting fat. That was a taboo topic between women, especially during a meal. Anyone who insisted was clearly up to no good. Thanks for breakfast, Sister Qingluan. I'll head back now. Qin Yuchu stood up. Wait, Yuchu. Actually, this bracelet has a matching brooch. I only remembered when I saw you wearing it today. Let me get it for you. Shen Qingluan quickly opened a drawer and took out a gift box. Sister Qingluan. Qin Yuchu stood by the door, looking troubled. There's set. I forgot about it that day. It's perfect. You can wear it today. Shen Qingluan wouldn't take no for an answer and pressed the small gift box into Qin Yuchu's hand. Holding the small gift box, the frown on Qin Yuchu's brow gradually smoothed out, fragments of Professor Wang's careful teachings echoing in her mind. Thank you. Qin Yuchu smiled faintly and calmly turned away. Back in her office, Qin Yuchu locked the door behind her and stood quietly before the floor-to-ceiling window. From the 28th floor, she looked down at Century Plaza, a view she had never experienced before. Alone in the enclosed space, Qin Yuchu reverted to her usual cold demeanor. Yet, the confusion and bewilderment in her eyes deepened. She didn't rush to call Fu Hang. Instead, she stood quietly by the window, analyzing the information she had. Mr. Fu was pursuing Shen Qingluan. There was no doubt about that. The food container on the cabinet was the one Mr. Fu had been holding yesterday. Had Mr. Fu gone to the school cafeteria to buy lion's head meatballs for Sister Qingluan? Did Sister Qingluan know Mr. Fu's identity? Probably not. Otherwise, Shen Qingluan wouldn't have ditched Mr. Fu this morning to try and curry favor with her, and in turn, Mr. Fu also didn't want Shen Qingluan to know his identity. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sounded so nervous on the phone. That nervousness couldn't be because he was afraid Shen Qingluan would find out about his relationship with her, Qin Yuchu. Their relationship wasn't significant enough to make Mr. Fu that anxious. Mr. Fu really liked Shen Qingluan, even going as far as to disguise himself as a delivery driver, delivering dinner, delivering breakfast. Neither Hanqing University nor Old Wang's soup dumplings was close to Century Plaza. The day they met at the milk tea shop, Mr. Fu was also wearing a delivery uniform. It was 12 p.m., lunchtime. Had Mr. Fu just finished delivering lunch? Kowtowing at dawn and dusk, burning incense thrice a day? Wasn't that basically being a simp? Qin Yuchu's frown deepened. No, he was a simp. Shen Qingluan knew Mr. Fu wasn't a real delivery driver. The food containers weren't standard takeout packaging. So why pretend to be one? For kicks? Some kind of roleplay? Qin Yuchu's thoughts were a mess. Even though she was brilliant, a fast learner, and hailed as a genius by all her teachers and professors, her limited life experience had hit a blind spot. Did she need to binge-read romance novels now? She'd already crammed so much new information these past few days. Pulling herself back from her thoughts, Qin Yuchu slowly opened the gift box in her hand. An exquisite brooch came into view. Qin Yuchu carefully took it out, and an inconspicuous card fell out. Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Qin Yuchu seemed lost in a daze. Keep up the great work today, Qingluan. You're always beautiful. Fu Hang. This was what Mr. Fu had given to Shen Qingluan. And the bracelet. Qin Yuchu caressed the bracelet on her wrist, a sudden surge of rage boiling up within her. Mr. Fu treats you so well, and you didn't even bother to unwrap it before giving it away to someone else. She desperately wanted to take off the bracelet right then and there and return it, along with the brooch, to Fu Hang. But after only a moment, she carefully pinned the brooch to her chest. She poured herself a glass of water, slowly drank it all, and then, empty cup in hand, Qin Yuchu pushed open the door and headed for the break room. Assistant Qin, didn't logistics send water to your office? At the entrance of the break room, Qin Yuchu met a slightly chubby young woman with a round face. I just had some soup dumplings at Sister Qingluan's, and my mouth feels a bit salty. I was hoping for something sweet to drink. You are? Qin Yuchu smiled at her. I'm Wang Xiaowei, from marketing. Let me get that for you. Coke or juice? Wang Xiaowei was a bit starstruck. She was a sucker for a pretty face, and Qin Yuchu's appearance today had truly captivated her. Besides, the CEO's assistant was practically upper management, right? She'd never been this close to someone in upper management before. Young? An intern? Mysterious background? Nonsense. What did any of that have to do with a rank-and-file employee like her? The company even had a new owner. That didn't concern her in the slightest. Juice, please. Thank you. Qin Yuchu secretly observed Wang Xiaowei, leaning casually against the wall. Want me to open it for you? Wang Xiaowei was surprisingly enthusiastic. No, I can get it. Those soup dumplings this morning were so good. I couldn't help but eat too many. Qin Yuchu accepted the juice, looking a little embarrassed. You're on good terms with Sister Qingluan, so you'll have plenty of good food to look forward to, Wang Xiaowei said cheerfully. Because of that delivery guy? Qin Yuchu's interest was piqued, and the words slipped out. Huh, you already know. Know what? I just noticed they seemed quite familiar with each other. Qin Yuchu looked skeptical. Oh, well, he's actually someone from Sister Qingluan's hometown. 15 minutes later, Qin Yuchu sat quietly in her office. The juice sat untouched in its glass. So this was the outside world? She suddenly felt a sense of wistful loss. Before leaving her office, she had even been thinking about how to help Mr. Fu pursue Shen Qingluan, even though she still didn't understand the point of his role-playing. But now, she seemed to understand the purpose of the delivery driver persona. But what on earth was Mr. Fu after? Young, handsome, gentle, considerate, and wealthy. He avoided her, Qin Yuchu, like the plague when she practically threw herself at him. Yet he was willing to be Shen Qingluan's backup, her simp, because of love, undying devotion. Wouldn't it be better to just reveal his true identity? Although they had only interacted a few times, Qin Yuchu believed she wasn't mistaken about Shen Qingluan's character. Having grown up in a peculiar family environment, Qin Yuchu was very perceptive and sensitive. Coupled with her extraordinary talents, she had understood many things from a young age. This was precisely why she had closed herself off and hidden her true self before. She knew what she possessed and what it could bring her, so she chose what to reveal and what to conceal. She was afraid, so she never socialized. But she wasn't indifferent to the world, only to herself. Through her thick glasses and bangs, she always liked to observe others secretly, analyzing their thoughts and actions. It had been like this ever since she was old enough to understand. They say fools have foolish luck. Conversely, intelligent people often live hard lives. Because the smarter they are, the more they understand. But when one's understanding surpasses one's ability to enact change, life becomes very difficult. A normal sophomore wouldn't say something like, "Finance isn't for people like me." Qin Yuchu could read everyone around her, including the sociology professor who treated her like her own daughter. Yet, she couldn't understand the one man who had shown her unconditional kindness. You help me. What are you after? Slowly raising her hand, Qin Yuchu reached for the phone on her desk. It was a new phone costing over 6,000 yuan, bought last night at the school gate. This is what you wanted me to become. Just as her hand touched the phone, the screen lit up. Seeing the caller ID, a flash of pain crossed Qin Yuchu's eyes. Caller ID, Mom. Her hand, reaching for the phone, froze in mid-air. Qin Yuchu's gaze gradually lost focus. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3 rings. Until the call disconnected, Qin Yuchu never picked up. Pulling her hand back, Qin Yuchu leaned back wearily into the ergonomic chair. This chair was indeed more comfortable than the school benches. The phone rang a second time. Qin Yuchu didn't even look at it, just stared silently at the ceiling, the space around her seeming to recede with each ring. The phone rang a third time. Qin Yuchu remained in the same position. Only when the ringing stopped this time did Qin Yuchu pick up her phone and directly dial Fu Hang. The call connected instantly. Qin Yuchu didn't even hear it ring. But strangely, once the call connected, neither of them spoke. I think we need to meet. After a long, long silence, Fu Hang finally said, his voice bitter over the phone. That milk tea shop? Qin Yuchu's voice was calm. I'm here right now. Right now? Immediately. But leaving my post during work hours. Wouldn't that be bad? Hearing Fu Hang's voice, a smile spread across Qin Yuchu's face. A genuine, unprecedented smile that came from the heart. What's an intern who works 1 day a week got to be so particular about? Fu Hang fumed. But I'm the intern assistant to the CEO. Qin Yuchu's voice sounded innocent. Assistant to the CEO? Fu Hang was floored. That's how they arranged it when I came to do my onboarding. Wasn't that you're doing? Qin Yuchu's smile grew even brighter. My doing my ass. Get over here now. Fu Hang slammed down the phone. Damn it, I only found out I was the boss of this company an hour ago. If I'd known earlier, replace the CEO's assistant, I wouldn't even hire you as a cleaner. This woman is trouble, serious trouble. Fu Hang repeatedly called out to the system in his mind, then cursed it, then begged it. But the system remained silent, as if it had crashed again, offering no response. The milk tea shop door opened. Radiant, Qin Yuchu instantly drew countless gazes. Bathed in looks of awe and envy, she walked straight toward the man who looked like a delivery driver and gracefully sat down. The scene from a phone call replayed itself. The two of them faced each other, yet words failed them. Shouldn't you offer a girl a drink instead of letting her sit here empty-handed? After another long silence, Qin Yuchu smiled sweetly. 2 mango pomelo sagos. Fu Hang gritted out, veins throbbing on his forehead. I feel like you're messing with me. Who exactly are you? Fu Hang voiced the deepest, most genuine question in his heart. Someone whose father is disabled, mother critically ill, younger brother still a child, helpless and alone, yet unintentionally saved by a kind-hearted person. Qin Yuchu looked at Fu Hang quietly, as if, without her bangs and glasses, she had no fear of meeting his gaze. It was a complete contrast to their last encounter here. Do you even believe that yourself? Fu Hang exploded with anger. Look at yourself now. Does that have anything at all to do with what you just said? Can you find even a shred of a link? Then let me put it another way. Qin Yuchu's tone remained flat, her gaze still fixed unflinchingly on Fu Hang's eyes. I'm a sophomore university student who grew up in a family where my disabled father is a gambling addict and my weak-willed mother favors sons and dotes on my brother excessively. Not long ago, my own father, using my mother's supposed critical illness as an excuse, tricked me out of money for his gambling, leaving me with a massive debt of 350,000. I had no choice but to sell myself to a rich man to pay it off. Fu Hang's expression froze. He looked at her, astonished. Looking directly into her eyes, he saw a hint of pain added to their clarity, though it was buried very, very deep. But a simp, by nature, is an expert at picking up on these things. His professional instincts told him she wasn't lying. Is what you're saying true? Fu Hang suddenly felt at a loss, running a hand forcefully through his hair. His emotions were all over the place. What kind of crazy plot twist was this? Was this how the script was supposed to go? I got a call from my dad. Qin Yuchu finally lowered her head and began to speak, her voice flat. He said my mom was critically ill and needed 50,000 for surgery. If I couldn't get the money, she would die. I'm just a sophomore in college. Where was I supposed to get 50,000? Loan sharks were my only option. It was money to save her life. Maybe it was because of my Hanqing University student ID, or maybe. Anyway, borrowing the money went smoothly. I transferred it to my dad the same day. Then he told me to focus on my studies, that the surgery needed to be scheduled, and he let me know when to come back. I called him every day to check, but even when the debt collectors came knocking, my dad still didn't ask me to come back. And then I got another call, not to ask me to come back and help take care of her, but to tell me the surgery had failed. She needed a second operation immediately. This time, it would cost 200,000. Qin Yuchu slowly raised her head, looking at Fu Hang, her eyes so calm it scared him. Right here in this milk tea shop, I overachieved and got 250,000. Qin Yuchu suddenly broke into a smile, but in Fu Hang's eyes, it was like a blood-red carnivorous flower. I booked a ticket as soon as I got the money, but before I could leave, my dad told me a round trip was expensive, so I shouldn't bother coming back. I grew up in that family. I know him too well. Before, I was worried about my mom, terrified she would die, so I lost my head. I'm actually very smart, so I called a neighbor. Just as I suspected, my mom wasn't sick at all. My dad had even bought a new motorcycle. Qin Yuchu blinked, her smile growing even sweeter. Do I look pretty when I smile? I never dared to smile before. The server brought their milk tea. Fu Hang took it and instinctively tried to insert the straw for Qin Yuchu, but his hand trembled so much he failed several times. Didn't your parents ever think about what would happen to you if you were saddled with a 300,000 high-interest loan? Fu Hang finally gave up and pushed the milk tea and straw together into Qin Yuchu's hands. I'm just a money-losing commodity. A 300,000 bride price probably exceeded their expectations. Qin Yuchu took the milk tea, deftly inserted the straw, and took a small sip. It was very sweet. They sold you for 300,000? Fu Hang felt his worldview shattering. He knew the world could be cruel, but these were her own parents. And this 300,000 wasn't a bride price. If Qin Yuchu really owed 300,000 in high-interest loans, what would she face? My dad probably thought the same thing as you later, that he'd sold me too cheap. Fu Hang was stunned again, looking at Qin Yuchu in confusion. So, 3 days ago, he called me again. His exact words were, I know some man must have given you that 300,000. Don't sell yourself short. You're a university student, young, pretty, and smart. It's not too much to ask him for 800,000 or a million. If he was willing to give you 300,000, he can definitely afford 800,000 or a million. Qin Yuchu said all this with a faint smile still on her face, taking occasional sips of her milk tea. Across from her, Fu Hang began to tremble slightly. So, CEO Fu, are you willing to pay this 800,000 or a million? My mom was nagging me again today, right before I came over. As Qin Yuchu spoke, she pulled out her call log, which showed 3 missed calls from Mom. Fu Hang fell silent. The unopened cup of milk tea in his hand slowly deformed until the seal burst and the tea exploded. That squeeze just cost 68 yuan. My entire week's living expenses gone. Qin Yuchu looked regretfully at the spilled milk tea on the floor, turning her head slightly to the side. Fu Hang couldn't recall how he'd left the milk tea shop. His original plan to tell Qin Yuchu to get lost, to scram as far away as possible, was something he just couldn't bring himself to say. When dealing with artful women, he had 1,000 tricks up his sleeve. But facing those clear yet cold eyes, he was completely at a loss. He only asked as he was leaving, "How can I help you?" Qin Yuchu had merely said coolly, "You've done enough. I can handle this myself. I'm actually quite smart." Then Qin Yuchu took off the bracelet and brooch, saying, "These should be yours." He glanced at them coldly and replied, "If you're wearing them, they're yours." That day, Fu Hang skipped work. He returned to Yinshu No. One early and soaked in the enormous bathtub for a long, long time. Until night fell, until that sinister mechanical voice sounded. "Today's salary of 100,000 has been credited. Please check your account." "Damn it. Tell me, who the hell is Qin Yuchu?" Fu Hang shot up from the bathtub, pointing at empty air and roaring. However, no matter how he cursed, the system gave no response. The next day was the 15th of the 9th lunar month. It was the SIMP's day off. Fu Hang lay in bed all day. "You've changed a lot." In an office building at Hanqing University, Professor Wang, a sociologist, stared at Qin Yuchu for a long time before giving his calm assessment. "I suppose I have changed a bit." Qin Yuchu put down the cleaning rag, turned, and smiled sweetly. "I'm not in a position to judge your changes, nor can I do anything about what caused them. But I've always hoped you wouldn't forget why you started." Professor Wang was not moved by the sweet smile. His expression grew increasingly grave. "I know what I'm doing." Qin Yuchu turned her head back and continued to diligently wipe the tabletop. "Can you tell me about that friend of yours?" Professor Wang didn't specify which friend. "I don't understand him. When I figure him out someday, I'll talk to you about him then, okay?" Qin Yuchu didn't turn around, her head still lowered. "All right." Professor Wang said no more. "It seems your father contacted the university, saying he couldn't reach you. Is that why you call me here?" Qin Yuchu turned around and stood quietly. Well then, it looks like you'll really have to hear my story today." Qin Yuchu tilted her head, smiled, and sat down in a chair. An hour later, Professor Wang's eyes were red-rimmed. He stared intently at the girl before him, who had remained perfectly calm from beginning to end. "The calmer you are, the more I worry about you. Your current state is very dangerous. Changes on the outside are often a reflection of what's happening inside. Right now Professor Wang's voice choked, thick with worry. "Actually, at first, I was quite worried about myself, too." Qin Yuchu raised an eyebrow. "And then I realized I have friends. You, Professor Wang, and him." Qin Yuchu's smile vanished, and she spoke with utmost seriousness. "I'm growing more and more curious about this friend of yours. It seems your relationship isn't simply—" Professor Wang suddenly paused. "A sugar daddy arrangement?" Qin Yuchu, however, was not evasive at all. "It seems not." Professor Wang smiled. "I almost wish it were." Qin Yuchu turned to the window. It had rained last night. A cold rain, lingering leaves. The ginkgo trees outside were beginning to shed theirs. Early the next morning, Fu Hang stood resignedly outside the Yuanboi trading building. He felt incredibly fortunate about a certain decision he'd made back then. Worried about disrupting Qin Yuchu's studies, he had requested she only work 1 day a week. A person's kindness always gets repaid in the most unexpected ways. Qin Yuchu had come to the company the day before yesterday. That meant this place was safe for at least 3 days. The rideshare car was perfectly on time. Fu Hang briefly suspected this driver was also a simp, but fortunately, Shen Qingluan didn't take the same car every day. "Qingluan." Fu Hang hadn't even finished his greeting when his eyes gradually glazed over. "What's wrong?" Shen Qingluan paused, then followed Fu Hang's gaze. "Sister Qingluan." A slender, graceful figure swayed in the morning breeze, radiating youthful energy. Qin Yuchu practically jogged over. "Yuchu, aren't you off today?" Shen Qingluan instantly ignored Fu Hang. Nothing much was happening at school, so I came to the office. After all, the pay here isn't bad. Qin Yuchu smiled sweetly, her gaze landing openly on Fu Hang, who was just about to make a run for it. Fu Hang felt like he was about to crack. He desperately wanted to find a hole to crawl into, but alas, the breakfast was still in his hand. Shen Qingluan hadn't taken it. The goods hadn't been delivered, so he couldn't clock in for work yet. "Hello, you must be Sister Qingluan's friend from her hometown, right?" Qin Yuchu greeted him politely, giving no hint of anything amiss. "Hometown friend." Fu Hang raised an eyebrow, looking at Shen Qingluan in confusion. Shen Qingluan, however, silently thought, "This is bad," and quickly tried to formulate a response. "Ah yes. Hello." Fu Hang only needed one glance at Shen Qingluan to guess the reason. He quickly agreed before Shen Qingluan could react. When it came to clients, Fu Hang was always competent. A qualified simp would never let his goddess be embarrassed. Shen Qingluan glanced at Fu Hang discreetly, a faint warmth stirring in her heart. This man, just how far would he go for her? "Will you be bringing Sister Qingluan lunch today?" Qin Yuchu, as if not noticing Shen Qingluan's momentary lapse in composure, continued to stare straight at Fu Hang. "Well," Fu Hang turned his head and looked at Shen Qingluan troubled. At a time like this, a simp couldn't overstep his bounds. "But Qin Yuchu, what on earth are you up to?" he wondered. "Yuchu, why do you ask?" Shen Qingluan also sensed something was off and asked, puzzled. "I heard from colleagues that those close to Sister Qingluan get to enjoy good food. I really liked yesterday's soup dumplings, so I was wondering if I could freeload again for lunch today." Qin Yuchu's smile was a little mischievous, with a hint of awkwardness. "Fu Hang, would it be convenient for you at lunchtime?" Shen Qingluan was ecstatic. She had been worrying about how to find a suitable opening. "Convenient. Of course it's convenient. What would you like for lunch?" Fu Hang replied with a flattered and overwhelmed expression. Internally, a herd of metaphorical alpacas stampeded through his mind. What could he say? As a working stiff, did he even have a choice? "Yuchu," Shen Qingluan asked enthusiastically. "Anything's fine with me. I'm not picky. I trust Sister Qingluan, and I trust Fu Hang, right?" "Then, Fu Hang, just bring whatever's convenient for you. I'll pay you back later." Shen Qingluan replied quickly. "You're not picky? What if I'm picky? What if it's not to your taste?" This was where Fu Hang came in handy. If she liked it, my credit. If she didn't, Fu Hang's bad choice. Shen Qingluan thought. "Thanks then. I'll give the money to Sister Qingluan in a bit." Qin Yuchu linked arms with Shen Qingluan and waved vigorously at Fu Hang in farewell. Fu Hang maintained a smile and waved back slowly. What was with this woman? A different persona? Every day? Were her character growth stats really that high? And don't tell me I'll have to deliver 2 meals from now on? Knowing her usual MO, it was highly probable. "System, get out here. I'm doing double the work. How can you have a nerve to only pay me for one?" "Yuchu, could you take a look at this proposal for me?" Shen Qingluan pushed open Qin Yuchu's office door, carrying a file box. "Huh, I don't know anything about this." Qin Yuchu quickly refused. "It's the renovation plan for the CEO's office. When the old boss left, he even took that Wang Wallywood desk. We were originally waiting for the new CEO to choose, but since he hasn't shown up, the team below came up with a few proposals. Look, I don't know the CEO's preferences either, so could you just take a look? Give some input." "Oh, is that so?" Qin Yuchu nodded and took the proposals. A smile played on Shen Qingluan's lips, her eyes deep. "I think this one and this one are pretty good. This one's too old-fashioned, but that's just my personal opinion, okay? I can't say for sure if the CEO will like them," Qin Yuchu said after carefully reviewing them, making sure to add a disclaimer. "I see. Well, I'll have them look into it some more then. Thank you. Your input is very valuable." Shen Qingluan left with a smile. The office door closed, and identical curved smiles appeared on both women's faces simultaneously. "Seems like he's not old, maybe even quite young." Shen Qingluan walked briskly down the hallway, the smile on her face growing warmer. The 2 proposals Qin Yuchu had called pretty good were a modern black and white style and even a cream tone one, while the one she disliked was a mahogany retro style. After a few steps, Shen Qingluan suddenly turned back, glancing meaningfully at Qin Yuchu's office. Definitely a little vixen, she thought. The way Fu Hang looked at her this morning was off. Fu Hang had no idea the 2 women were choosing an office for him. He was now back at the milk tea shop, sitting in the same spot as before. Qin Yuchu. This was the first time Fu Hang had muttered the name of a woman who wasn't a client since his system awakened. Which one is the real you? At first, she was timid and helpless. Then, insecure yet resolute. Later, decisive and cold. And now, she seemed impishly clever. If she decided to play games, could he even handle it? And her family? Hundreds of thousands? If that much money could solve the problem once and for all, Fu Heng wouldn't hesitate to cut ties with this troublesome connection. Wasn't that just 10 days' salary? But could it really be cut? People like that, give them $1 million, and they'll want 10 million. It was a bottomless pit. If he got involved, he'd only sink deeper. Ultimately, it was her family matter, her biological parents. And him? What the hell? Why am I even thinking about her? Fu Heng jolted, a wave of fear washing over him. No, I should be thinking about her. It's right to think about her. His entire fortune, his life, his future happiness were all in her hands. If she revealed his identity to Shen Qingluan, he'd be out of job on the spot, absolutely. But judging from this morning, she didn't seem ready to spill. Damn it. What the hell does this woman want? She didn't even want money. Could she be after my body? No, she did take the money. At this thought, Fu Heng immediately took out his phone and, after a moment's hesitation, sent Qin Yuchu a text message. Why did you come to the company today? I told you. Nothing much going on at school. The company pays so well. Of course I have to make a good impression. She replied instantly. You're just a sophomore, and there's nothing much going on? You think I've never been to college? Fu Heng's temper flared. Were you also first in all your subjects? Fu Heng's anger deflated. Right? What teacher would give a top student a hard time about attendance? With her around, even lecturers would feel extra pressure, afraid of misspeaking. Is the money enough? Fu Heng abruptly changed the subject. Almost spent it all. Another instant reply. Remember, don't go blabbing about things you shouldn't. Fu Heng directly transferred another 50,000. Damn it, just consider this payment for your help this morning. Thank you, boss, bowing emoji. Seeing this message, Fu Heng felt a pang somewhere deep in his heart, and a sense of frustration welled up. Are all those brats at school blind? The seal has been lifted, and there's no commotion at all? This generation of simps is useless. While Fu Heng was complaining about the Hanqing University guys lacking perception, guts, and initiative, Qin Yuchu received a phone call. Hello, is this student Qin Yuchu? The voice was unusually deep and very magnetic. Yes, who is this? Qin Yuchu held the phone slightly away from her ear, trying hard to recall. It was a Hanqing University campus network short number, but one she didn't recognize. I'm a vice president of the student union in our Hanqing University School of Finance. You might know me, Lu Junkai. I'm a senior, in my 4th year. The voice on the other end perked up a bit. Oh, is there something I can help you with? The person on the other end clearly paused, the emotional connection faltering. Well, it's like this. I happen to be submitting some documents to Vice Dean Professor Lee today, and I got your number from him. Are you at school right now? After a long pause with no response, Lu Junkai hurriedly asked. No. You didn't have classes today? Nope. So, are you coming back for dinner? Have a nice day. I'll hang up now. So the guys at Hanqing University did have some initiative. It was just staring at the phone. Qin Yuchu was slightly dazed. This was the second call she'd received today. The previous one was from the head of the drama club. So, this is what you wanted? Qin Yuchu gently stroked the bracelet on her wrist, a playful, knowing look on her face. Bro, you're not really a delivery guy, are you? A voice sounded by Fu Heng's ear. He turned in surprise to see one of the milk tea shop's staff standing there. Why wouldn't I be? Fu Heng emphatically shook the yellow delivery vest he was wearing. Come on, I've been working here for 2 months. You sit in the shop all day. If you were actually doing deliveries, you'd have started death by now. And you're not live streaming, so you're not a delivery streamer. The staff member analyzed with a mysterious air. Then what do you think I'm wearing this for? Fu Heng was amused. This guy was interesting. Picking up girls. The staff member raised an eyebrow. Oh, just when I was saying this generation of simps is useless. Turns out the real masters are among the common folk. I got it right, didn't I? The staff member caught Fu Heng's expression and looked smug. Keep it down. Keep it down. How'd you guess? Guess? Do we even need to? That girl from the day before yesterday. She was like a goddess. A photo of her online would get 1 million likes in minutes. And she sat in front of you like a timid little wife. Another staff member chimed in, leaning closer. And that student girl before, even though her hair and glasses covered her face, and we couldn't see clearly, she was a solid 90 out of 100, conservatively speaking, the newly joined staff member added with a serious expression. Fu Heng looked bewildered. These must all be Qin Yuchu, right? Bro, teach us a few tricks, huh? The first staff member sat down opposite him, politely offering a cup of milk tea. Plain milk tea. You want to learn? Fu Heng's interest was piqued. Finally, a chance to show off in a field I'm familiar with? Opportunities like this don't come often. Of course I do. I've been soloing for 25 years. It's actually quite simple. Fu Hang cleared his throat and took a sip of the milk tea. Tui, what kind of tea is this? Free stuff really is undrinkable. Women, if she's naive and inexperienced, show her all the splendors of the world. If she's worldly and senile, take her to ride a merry-go-round. Truly a master. So philosophical. Awesome. The staff member carefully compared the two stunning beauties he'd seen, the professional lady and the student girl, and it seemed to fit perfectly. So, know what to do now. Fu Hang crossed his legs, looking perfectly composed and self-assured. The staff member was stumped again. You can't just ride a merry-go-round all day, can you? With that level of understanding, you deserve to be single. Fu Hang took another sip of the tea. Tui, this is awful. Did they forget the sugar? Emotional value, my friend. What do women want? They want emotional value. You have to first understand what she needs. If you can't give her what she wants, and what you give her isn't what she needs, then isn't that just pointless? A wave of admiration rippled through the onlookers. Fu Hang suddenly realized that all the staff members had gathered around him. Don't you guys have work to do? You haven't noticed? The server who arrived earliest looked astonished. Noticed what? Fu Hang was completely clueless. You've been the only customer all morning. Just sitting there. This place is going under. Another server chimed in. Holy crap, you're right. Fu Hang looked around. Sure enough, there wasn't another soul in the place. The boss is already planning to close up. He told us to find other jobs a few days ago. No way, right? Their milk tea is pretty good. Except for this one. You said it yourself. You wouldn't even drink this kind. Why do I feel like you're insulting me? Their signature mango pomelo sago. 68 yuan a cup? Who'd buy that except a total chump? You are insulting me. Hey, wait, if this place closes, where am I going to buy mango pomelo sago? Shen Qingluan loves it. She's ordered it 7 times this month. The profits can't even cover the costs. Fu Hang felt he had to try and do something. What do you think this place is? Century Plaza. This shop, 2 whole floors. Forget our salaries. How much do you think the rent is per month? The idiot boss lost his shirt ages ago. He was thinking of transferring ownership a few days back. Probably thought someone else was as dumb as him. Actually, it's not a given that no one would take it over. Fu Hang hesitated, an idea flashing through his mind. System? My Qingluan loves this milk tea shop, and they're about to close. If I buy the place, can I count it as an activity expense? Can it be reimbursed? Proposal approved. Reimbursement authorized. The system's reply was unusually prompt this time. Oh, come on. What idiot would take over this mess? The server sneered. I will. Give me your boss's phone number. Fu Hang's eyes glinted, his mind suddenly clear. What did it matter if it lost money? It wasn't his money he was spending. Why hadn't he thought of this before? Sitting around waiting like this every day, his lumbar disc was about to give out. Don't mess around, buddy. I'm serious. Quick, give me the boss's number. You really want to take over this shop? Closing down is one thing, but a transfer is a whole different story. The server chuckled coldly. Some guy in a delivery uniform, tease him a bit, and he really gets cocky. Who's joking with you? Fu Hang's phone rang. Lawyer Zhang? Oh yes, it's the one in Century Plaza, Ganlu Milk Tea. Yes, the sooner the better. All right, I'll leave it to you then. I'll wait for your news. Hanging up, Fu Hang glanced at everyone. No need to give it to me. I'll have my lawyer contact him. The group of servers stared at Fu Hang as if he were an idiot as he left. At 2 p.m., the boss came in with a man in a sharp suit. He settled all the employees' wages on the spot and announced the milk tea shop had changed hands. The accompanying lawyer Zhang produced new employment contracts. Agreements were signed on the spot, and the 3 servers who wished to stay were told everything would remain as usual. They would continue operations, even if they only sold 1 cup of milk tea a day. At 4 p.m., Fu Hang returned to the milk tea shop. With a wave of his hand, he had all the seats on the 2nd floor removed, a curtain put up, and a double bed set up inside. This was the life of a working stiff. From now on, he could clock in lying down. Fu Hang stood at the entrance, full of vigor. A simp, now with another hat to wear. Not off work yet. A pleasant voice shattered Fu Hang's radiant aura. He turned stiffly to see Qin Yu Chu standing beside him. I'm a delivery guy. What off work is there for me? You, on the other hand, it's not quitting time for you, is it? Skipping out early. Fu Hang bared his canines in a smirk. I could take today off, actually. Besides, I'm the CEO's assistant. My name isn't on the HR attendance roster. Qin Yu Chu smiled innocently. What exactly are you trying to do? Buy milk tea? I'm rich now. I can afford it. Want me to treat you? I don't drink sweet things. Fu Hang was utterly speechless. Qin Yu Chu shrugged indifferently and walked past Fu Hang into the milk tea shop. 1 mango pomelo sago. You really don't want one. Qin Yuchu turned her head and asked again. It's 68 yuan, right? Seeing Fu Hang ignore her, she took out her phone to scan the payment code. Wait a moment. The server hurriedly stopped her. Qin Yuchu was puzzled. Boss, should we charge her? Fu Hang slapped his forehead. You bought the whole shop? Just because this was the first milk tea I ever had. Holding her mango pomelo sago, Qin Yuchu stood happily beside Fu Hang. You're overthinking it. But this shop has always been losing money, hasn't it? Qin Yuchu took a big slurp. Truth be told, when drinking with a straw, you really had to get a full mouthful, slowly chew it, and then swallow to get the best flavor. No wonder Fu Hang always slurp like that. I have too much money, just burning it for fun. Fu Hang shot her a sideways glance. That's great. Now I don't have to pay for milk tea anymore. Thanks, boss. I'm saying, aren't you worried at all? Fu Hang finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He'd been sitting here all morning worrying, while the person directly involved was acting like nothing was wrong. Worried about my parents? Who else? Nothing to worry about. I haven't been answering their calls these past few days. Qin Yuchu shrugged indifferently and took another big slurp. This time, she slurped too much, and a trace of milky white liquid dribbled from the corner of her mouth. This is your solution? Fu Hang was speechless, staring at that milky trace. A true simp would have whipped out a tissue by now, but Fu Hang forced himself to resist. Knowing them, if they can't reach me, they'll come to Hanchang soon enough. This isn't a small amount of money, after all. Qin Yuchu winked at Fu Hang. They're coming to Hanchang. Fu Hang paused, his brow furrowing. Probably in a day or two. Don't sweat it. I can handle it. Give me your phone, Fu Hang suddenly said in a cold voice. Qin Yuchu was still completely obedient, handing over her phone without the slightest hesitation, even thoughtfully unlocking the screen. Fu Hang took the phone and quickly scrolled through it. What do you want a photo for? Qin Yuchu frowned slightly, watching Fu Hang send a group photo to his own phone. If I run into them, I'll break that guy's good leg. I'm a good fighter, you know. Fu Hang shot Qin Yuchu a fierce glare and handed the phone back. At 7 p.m., after circling the Hanchang University area twice in his runabout car, Fu Hang stopped in front of a finance company. Sir, what can we do for you? The office was messy, and the receptionist looked pretty shady. Fu Hang nodded. This was the place he was looking for. Fu Hang suddenly paused, as if he'd thought of something. Do you have a bald guy here? About this tall, with a head this big? Fu Hang gestured with his hands. The goon at the reception twitched his lips. Who described someone like that? And was he talking about Brother Long? Just as he was about to scold him, he suddenly heard incessant thwack, 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 sounds of someone slapping a door nearby. Fu Hang and the receptionist looked over at the same time and saw a goon half slumped against the wall, vigorously slapping a door. This guy looked somewhat familiar. Was he the third one who went flying? What the hell are you banging for? I was just... Cough, cough, cough. The door burst open, and the bald man who rushed out choked on his own spit, his face a mask of terror as he looked at Fu Hang. Well, look who it is. Fate, huh? A strange curve formed on Fu Hang's lips. See? Kindness gets repaid in the most unexpected ways. That little bit of mercy back then has saved me a lot of trouble now. Be boss. The bald man stammered, hesitating to approach. Relax, I'm here to talk business. Come on over. Fu Hang casually sat down on a sofa. Yes, sir. The bald man was incredibly docile, sitting obediently across from him. Recalling the events of that day, the more he thought about it, the more terrified he became. This guy clearly didn't know Qin Yuchu back then, yet he casually threw around 100,000. Could he be an ordinary person? The scariest part was that no one knew how those 5 guys had gone flying. Don't be nervous. I'm really here to talk business. Your old trade, Fu Hang said, pulling 2 IOUs from his pocket. Collect these debts for me. Whatever you get, it's all yours. Fu Hang glanced sideways at the bald man. See, collect debts? From her. The bald man looked at the name on the IOUs, his expression turning peculiar. The 2 IOUs totaled 350,000. Borrower, Qin Yuchu. Not from her, but from her parents. They'll be in Hanchang in a few days. If you stake out the school, you'll definitely find them, Fu Hang said calmly. And after we find them? The bald man asked hesitantly. Do I still need to teach you how to do this? Fu Hang was dumbfounded. Dude, this is your livelihood, isn't it? A loan shark asking a simp how to collect debts? I'm usually the one giving money away. No, what I mean is, what if we can't get it? If you can't get it, then get it by force. Long story short, whatever you collect is yours. How much you get depends on your own abilities. Fu Hang looked exasperated, as if disappointed in their incompetence. Are thugs these days this useless? So, you were just putting on an act for me in front of Qin Yuchu that day? But didn't sis-in-law say we should just scare them and drive them away? The thug who had banged on the door blurted out instinctively. Fu Hang turned his head in surprise. The thugs exchanged glances. Sis-in-law, Fu Hang probed. They all nodded in unison. Qin Yuchu. Fu Hang frowned. They nodded again. She came here. Last night. What for? Pretty much what you said. Wait for her parents, then use the IOUs to scare them off, the bald man answered concisely, pulling 2 IOUs from his pocket. Fu Hang took them and compared them with the ones on the table. Damn it, they're identical. Are you abusing your power as the original author to just whip out originals whenever you want? IOUs aren't supposed to come in duplicate, you know? Now you owe me 700,000. This is the 20,000 sis-in-law gave us as a service fee. Seeing Fu Hang's expression shift unpredictably, the bald man hurriedly pulled out 2 stacks of cash and respectfully placed them on the table. Well, I'll be. So that's where the money went. Fu Hang seethed, grinding his teeth in frustration. So, whose orders do we follow? The door-banging thug was a bit slow-witted. Perhaps his flight posture had been wrong, and the weightlessness had messed with his brain. Listen to boss. The bald man stood up and rapped him on the forehead. If you can't get it normally, get it by force. But watch yourselves. Don't break the law. You get what I mean? They most likely don't have the money. Since it's about scaring them, make it decisive. Fu Hang pondered for a moment, his expression darkening again. With people like this, if you don't hit them where it hurts the first time, they'll be back before you know it. As for what these guys will do, best to leave professional matters to the professionals. Understood. The bald man nodded seriously, a flicker of understanding in his eyes, though his face grew even more constrained. These are his future in-laws. Is he really going to be this ruthless? One more thing. Don't tell Qin Yuchu I came looking for you. On the way back, Fu Hang felt a wave of unease. He'd spent all night thinking he'd found the perfect solution and was secretly gloating, only to find out Qin Yuchu had already been there yesterday. I really don't understand the world of top students. Does she even have any blind spots in her thinking? How many brains does this woman have? Don't they say big chest mean no brains? The next morning at 8:45 a.m., Shen Qingluan stepped out of the ride-hailing car, right on time as usual, but the scene before her left her stunned. The familiar corner, the bright yellow vest, still conspicuous. But standing next to Fu Hang was Qin Yuchu, and from the looks of it, they were chatting quite happily. Sister Qingluan? Seeing Shen Qingluan get out of the car, Qin Yuchu was the first to wave and greet her. Yuchu, what brings you to work again today? Shen Qingluan hurried forward, her gaze immediately falling on the food container in Qin Yuchu's hand. I'm free at school anyway, so I came to the company to learn more, Qin Yuchu said with a sweet smile. Qingluan, your breakfast. Fu Hang, wearing a professional smile, handed her the food container he was holding. Shen Qingluan took it and saw that it was, indeed, identical to the one in Qin Yuchu's hand. Instantly, a strange and unfamiliar feeling welled up inside her. I figured it's too much trouble for Sister Qingluan to transfer money every time. So, I added Fu Hang as a friend. This way, even if Sister Qingluan isn't around, I can still enjoy the delicious food. Qin Yuchu blinked her bright eyes, then turned her head and pouted playfully at Fu Hang. Shen Qingluan's expression was odd. Her composure almost slipped in that instant. The unfamiliar feeling in her heart intensified. It was like someone else had worn the slippers she'd left by the door. Sister Qingluan, you don't mind, do you? Of course not. I'm grateful that you can help take care of him. Let's hurry inside. The elevators will get crowded soon. Shen Qingluan quickly pulled herself together, replying gently, then gave Fu Hang a deep look. Her gaze was a mix of playful reproach and shyness, warmth tinged with a hint of blame and dissatisfaction. Watch your step. Fu Hang responded adequately to her look, the downturned corners of his mouth betraying his inner self-reproach and unease. Something's not right. I still feel like I'm getting paid for one job, but doing the work of 2. This is $6 million a month for perfect attendance. I'm getting ripped off. Does Qin Yuchu really not have any weak subjects? Is her green tea skill level this high too? Shen Qingluan found this breakfast particularly unappetizing. The congee was too salty, the tenderloin and the egg pancake might not have been fresh, and it even had cilantro in it. Who eats cilantro first thing in the morning? She tossed the carefully chosen food container straight into the trash, wiped her mouth, touched up her makeup, then grabbed a folder from her desk and stormed off towards Su Chang's office. VP Su, this is the team-building proposal you requested. It needs your signature for confirmation. If you've reviewed it and there are no issues, I'll send out the notice. Knocking on VP Su's office door, Shen Qingluan's smile was as gentle as ever. I've seen the proposal before. No problems. Just leave it, I'll sign it in a bit and send it directly to you. Su Changha nodded calmly. It had been 2 months since the company changed ownership. Although everything seemed normal on the surface, people were restless underneath, especially since the new CEO was yet to make an appearance. At a time like this, it was crucial to boost team morale and cohesion. Then I'll get on that immediately. Hold on, no rush. Sit. Su Changha suddenly raised his hand, gesturing to the sofa in front of him. Yes, sir. Shen Qingluan replied calmly, turning to close the office door. You've been quite close with Assistant Qin lately. Any news? Su Changha didn't beat around the bush and asked directly. Shen Qingluan was someone he had personally promoted. At this stage, she could be considered his confidant. Besides, he had a clear read on what this woman was after. Her ambition didn't bother him. In fact, it made her useful. Are you referring to the new CEO? Shen Qingluan lowered her head slightly. Her voice hushed. Su Changha replied, non-committally. He's probably very young. Assistant Qin is likely his girlfriend, or at least his lover. Shen Qingluan hesitated for a moment before voicing her assessment. Just as Su Changha suspected, for Shen Qingluan, Su Changha was still her backing in the company until her own plans came to fruition. Su Changha nodded upon hearing this. It matched what he had gleaned indirectly from Lawyer Zhang. What are your thoughts? That Assistant Qin. She's not as simple as she appears. The scene from that morning flashed through Shen Qingluan's mind. Here I am, still plotting to seduce your CEO, and you've already made a move on MY delivery guy? You won't even let a delivery boy off the hook? The audacity. Oh, how so? Su Changha raised an eyebrow. Her internship agreement clearly states she only needs to work 1 day a week, but she's been coming to the company almost every day these past few days. Shen Qingluan paused, collecting her thoughts. If she's the CEO's girlfriend, the future Mrs. CEO, then that's not surprising. I gave her a bracelet as a welcoming gift earlier. It wasn't anything expensive, worth just over 1,000 or so, but she wears it every time she comes to the company. Oh, Su Changha raised an eyebrow again. Including today, she's come to the company 5 times, although her outfits are different each day. No, wait, the pants she's wearing today are the same ones from her first day. But all these clothes are from ordinary brands. Her entire outfit, top to bottom, wouldn't cost more than 2,000. Your point being? Lawyer Zhang personally escorted her here, so she clearly has an unusual relationship with the CEO. Her behavior suggests she's deliberately playing humble and trying to seem agreeable. Shen Qingluan offered her analysis. The girlfriend of the CEO of the mighty Yuanbua Trading wouldn't have jewelry or a few designer outfits. It's simply that she doesn't want to be too conspicuous and is eager to build rapport with the employees. Your analysis isn't without merit. Has she made any moves since joining the company? Su Chang's brow furrowed deeply as he instinctively pulled out a cigarette and lit it. Not really. Apart from occasionally walking around the office, she mostly stays in her own office. There's been no response to any documents CC'd to her. I doubt she's even looked at them. She's not getting involved in anything. Su Chang's hand, holding the cigarette, tapped slowly on the desk. Either she was instructed from the start just to observe, or this woman has very grand ambitions. Just a sophomore in college. How could she be like this? Shen Qingluan muttered unconsciously, the scene from the morning still vivid in her mind. Just a sophomore? Su Changha suddenly let out a cold laugh, pulled a folder from his drawer, and tossed it onto the desk. This is information I had someone get from Hanxing University. Take a good look. This is Qin Yuchu. Shen Qingluan took the file doubtfully, only to be instantly shocked by the photo on top. It was a full-body shot. The Qin Yuchu in the photo had the same hairstyle and black-rimmed glasses as when they first met. But her clothes, a faded beige shirt, the collar's wear and tear unconcealed, and the sweatpants. Were those high school uniform pants? Her family background couldn't even be described as merely poor. Calling it miserable wouldn't be an exaggeration. For the past year, she's practically lived on scholarships and financial aid. At school, apart from a few of her teachers, she barely interacted with anyone. Not boys, not even other girls, Su Changha explained, his tone grave. This is too unbelievable, isn't it? Qin Yuchu, she. Shen Qingluan simply couldn't reconcile the pitiful, destitute girl in the file with the radiant, sophisticated city woman from that morning who had so subtly, almost invisibly, one-upped her. Keep reading. Su Changha gestured dismissively with his chin. Top of her class in all subjects. Top scorer in the college entrance exams. Shen Qingluan was astonished again. The person I contacted had high praise for her. Said if it weren't for regulations, the university might have even fast-tracked her into a master's program. But getting recommended for postgraduate studies is already a certainty, maybe even for a direct Ph.D. Su Changhe looked at Shen Qingluan meaningfully. Is she the CEO's kept woman? Shen Qingluan, true to his expectations, connected the dots from the information and instantly understood the meaning behind Su Changhe's look. All right, it seems you know what to do. Su Changhe stubbed out his cigarette, a flicker of imperceptible regret in his eyes. He had originally hoped for a chance to get closer to this subordinate he'd personally groomed. Now, it seemed you couldn't catch a wolf without sacrificing the lamb, and she was the lamb he was now offering up. But Mr. Su, the new CEO, still hasn't shown his face. Shen Qingluan knew Su Changhe had seen through her ambitions, but since he was clearly giving her a push, she decided not to hide them any longer. This is the cooperation agreement with Tianyu. According to company policy, the amount of capital involved exceeds my authority as executive vice president. Could you do me a favor and take it to the CEO for his signature? Su Changhe suddenly smiled and took out another document. But where am I supposed to find the CEO? The CEO's assistant must know where he is, right? It's quite incredible when you think about it. A company the size of Yuanbois and I, an executive vice president, don't even know our own CEO's name. Who would believe it if it got out? Shen Qingluan's heart leaped with joy upon hearing this. She knew very well this was Su Changhe creating an opportunity for her. But at the same time, it was also a test to see if she could really make it that far. If she couldn't even manage this, then Su Changhe might start having other ideas. Understood, Mr. Su. I will definitely complete the mission. A smile bloomed on Shen Qingluan's face, her sweetness and confidence on full display. I believe you can do it. Oh, by the way, you can also take the opportunity to invite the CEO to the company team-building event this weekend. As the new owner of the company and a sole proprietor at that, he can come and boost employee morale. Yes, I will be sure to extend a sincere invitation on behalf of the company. Walking out of Su Changhe's office, Shen Qingluan was in high spirits, the unpleasantness from the morning completely gone. Fu Hang, if you want him, he's all yours. But as for your sugar daddy, this girl right here will happily take him off your hands. After clawing her way up for so many years, Shen Qingluan was a seasoned veteran. In truth, besides Fu Hang, she had plenty of other fish in her pond. She knew her strengths and was skilled in her methods. A poor little country girl? You Chu? Not busy, are you? Shen Qingluan didn't even go back to her office, heading straight to the CEO's assistant's office with the documents. Not at all. What would I be busy with? I'm probably the least busy person in the entire company. Qin Yuchu looked up from her computer, a faint smile on her face. Perfect timing. This is our proposal for Tianyu, and this is the partnership agreement. This project is our biggest deal this quarter, involving over 30 million, with an estimated profit of 12 million. Whether we feast or famine by year-end depends on this. Shen Qingluan expertly navigated around the desk, leaning intimately against the armrest of the office chair as she spread out the documents. She discreetly glanced at the computer screen. A palace intrigue drama? Shen Qingluan was slightly taken aback. The show was a huge hit, rumored to have phenomenal acting, practically textbook level. The plot was tight, especially the palace schemes, with an excellent grasp and portrayal of human nature. Some social media influencers even called it a masterclass for green tea bitches. A cold sneer formed in her heart, just as expected from a poor girl. Your sugar daddy gives you all this support, and you just use it to binge-watch dramas? I know about this project. The marketing department CC'd me. Qin Yuchu replied calmly, looking down at the documents. You know jack shit. Shen Qingluan cursed inwardly. If it wasn't to make you understand how important this project is, I wouldn't have bothered explaining it to you. That's good then. The thing is, the fund transfer for this exceeds Vice President Su's authority, so it needs the CEO's personal signature for confirmation. You see, I can't reach the CEO, but you should have his contact information, right? Shen Qingluan's smile was full of affability, yet her upswept bun made her look thoroughly capable. I do. Then I wonder if... Just give me the documents. I'll call him about it later. Qin Yuchu blinked, cutting Shen Qingluan off. About Tianyu. Relax. It's rare for an assistant like me to get a chance to actually do my job. I'll definitely get it done. Otherwise, I'd feel bad taking the company's salary. Qin Yuchu chuckled, stood up, and gently pushed Shen Qingluan towards the door. Sister Qingluan, you go on with your work. I'll personally deliver it to you once I've handled it. The door closed. Qin Yuchu pouted, suppressing a laugh. Outside, Shen Qingluan's smile was stiff, a cold glint flickering in her eyes. Boss. The moment the call connected, Fu Hang was stunned by a lazy, provocatively teasing voice. He scrambled up from the bed on the second floor of the milk tea shop, meticulously checking the caller ID. It read, Qin Yuchu? For a moment there, he felt like Su Daji was cooing my king by his bedside. Are you sick? Fu Hang's hair stood on end. Not all. I just needed you for something. Her voice became even more cloyingly sweet, making Fu Hang's skin crawl. Speak normally, Fu Hang reprimanded sharply. Yes, as per the joint announcement from the company's project department, HR department, and marketing department, our company will enter into a strategic partnership agreement with Tianyu Group at the end of this month. This collaboration will involve... Stop. Fu Hang took a deep breath, his eyes wide with utter astonishment. A newscaster's voice? Qin Yuchu, is there anything you can't do? Silence fell on the other end of the line. Miss Yochu's obedience was as impeccable as ever. What on earth are you trying to say? This collaboration for the company's current. The newscaster's voice continued. Get to the point, Fu Hang said, head bowed in despair. There's a document that needs your signature. Her voice finally returned to normal. Why do I need to sign it? Because Vice President Su Changhe doesn't have sufficient authority. Can you sign it for me? Fu Hang was speechless. Just a damn part-timer, and so much trouble. If it weren't for this company, would there be so many issues? Why do you think Su Changhe isn't signing it? Fu Hang was rendered speechless. Are you still at the milk tea shop? Should I come find you now? Wait, Fu Hang was about to say, what else can I do? When his eyes suddenly narrowed. Sign it? Me sign it? If I sign my name, wouldn't Shen Qingluan see it? Then what's the point of all this secrecy? Don't come. You sign it for me, Fu Hang replied, his tone suddenly calm. Boss, signature authorization involves. Do you really think I'm uneducated? Fu Hang, exasperated, hung up the phone. 20 minutes later, Qin Yuchu received a CEO signature authorization letter, personally sent by Lawyer Zhang from the company's legal department. Qin Yuchu stared at the complete, rigorous, and legally binding authorization letter on her screen, her gaze slightly unfocused. The power to sign? How is this any different from handing the company over to me? If handled correctly, this signing authority could even be used for share transfer agreements. Why you trust me so much? What are you after? 10 minutes later, Qin Yuchu knocked on Su Changhe's office door. President Su, hello. Sister Qingluan, you're here too. Perfect. I was looking for you earlier, Sister Qingluan, but you weren't in, so I came straight to President Su. President Su, this is the agreement with Tianyu. Qin Yuchu gracefully placed the documents on the desk. It's signed. Su Changhe was taken aback. Qin Yuchu nodded with a smile. They exchanged a glance. So fast. Was the CEO nearby? Or perhaps hiding somewhere in the company? Su Changhe eagerly opened the document, but after seeing the signature, his expression suddenly became incredibly colorful. Assistant Qin, you might not be aware, but this needs to be personally signed by the CEO, Su Changhe patiently explained, trying to reason with her. I know, but the CEO authorized me. The legal department has already processed it. Weren't you CC'd? Perhaps you should verify? Qin Yuchu stood there calmly. An awkward silence descended upon the room. Well, I'll head back then. Qin Yuchu asked softly, peeking at the two stunned individuals. Oh, yes, good. Su Changhe nodded mechanically, his gaze still fixed on the signature on the document. The handwriting is quite good. Boss, in that signature, Su Daji voice. Speak normally. Fu Hang was currently squeezing his way through a food street, queuing for lunch, when that boss sent shivers down his spine again. Mission successfully completed, came the perfect newscaster's voice. You've overused that joke. Are you buying lunch? What do you think? Is it Lanzhou beef noodles? Didn't you order it? Shen Qingluan eats Lanzhou beef noodles too. Fu Hang fell silent again. Shen Qingluan had ordered kelp and pork rib soup. So why am I here? I've gotten used to being a simp. For this unpaid gig. You money-losing baggage. Fu Hang blurted out. My mom always says that too. Fu Hang fell silent again. Ahem. Want scallions and cilantro? Yes. And add an extra portion of beef, 3 drops of chili oil. Her voice was light and cheerful, without a trace of sadness. I really can't win against you. You didn't call just to add extra beef, did you? The company's HR department, after careful consideration, has decided to organize a team-building camping trip to Qianfeng Mountain Scenic Area this weekend. This event, the newscaster's voice chimed in. That joke isn't funny anymore. Get to the point. I'm inviting you to the team-building event on behalf of the company. Camping, you know. You think I'd go? Fu Hang, still on the phone, pointed to the noodles on the menu for the server, then to the beef, and made a to gesture with his hand. The whole company is going. That's your whole company. But you're the boss, aren't you? The company is all yours. Sole proprietor, full shareholder. Why don't I just give you the company? Bring the share transfer agreement. I'll sign it right now. You don't need that much to keep me. Her voice suddenly deepened. All right, I need to pay now. The noisy surroundings made Fu Hang miss her last sentence. He hung up and scanned the payment code. Staring at her phone, Qin Yuchu gazed absently at the street scene outside. Century Square was located in the city center, its prosperity self-evident. Shouldn't you be buying me an apartment by now? Qin Yuchu murmured, lost in thought, biting the end of her pen. During the lunch delivery, Fu Hang was surprised to see Shen Qingluan. She was actually waiting at the door early today. Qingluan, why are you down so early? I was just about to message you, Fu Hang said, surprised, an undeniable joy spreading across his face. Why are you so good to me? Shen Qingluan didn't take the food container, instead just gazing quietly at Fu Hang, her eyes like autumn pools, rippling with emotion. I. Fu Hang was momentarily flustered, a huge question mark popping up in his mind. Wait, what? By my calculations, it's not time for your ultimate move yet. Did I misremember the skill cooldown? Wasn't our previous rhythm pretty good? You're suddenly speeding things up. I'm going to have trouble gauging this. Shen Qingluan didn't say anything more, still staring intently at Fu Hang, as if trying to see through his eyes, peer into the depths of his soul, and find the answer her heart sought. Her eyes began to redden slightly, a mist welling up in her starlight gaze, full of deep affection, brimming with tenderness. Sis, you're overdoing it. Your emotions are already at a 10. How am I supposed to respond to this? With this kind of build-up, if I don't pull you into a hug, I really can't play along. Qingluan. A voice came from behind. Shen Qingluan jolted, her whole body trembling, and shyly lowered her head, wiping away the tears welling at the corners of her eyes. I'll let up first. Give me Yochu's too. I'll take it to her. Without waiting for Fu Hang to speak, Shen Qingluan grabbed the food containers and dashed towards the elevator. Holy, so that was the play. And here this gidge, thought I was going to have to make a sacrifice today. Progress. Her expression was very natural, especially her micro-expressions, which were spot on. But like I said, the rhythm's off, isn't it? Yesterday, it was 67. 32%. Please don't let it go up today. The system's hard metrics. Affection level below 25% means mission failed. Above 90% means mission successful. Either way, it triggers a settlement. The difference is, failure means punishment, though Fu Hang had never experienced what that punishment was. Similarly, he'd never received the rewards for success either. All his previous conquest targets had ended up in relationships with other people midway, leading to an early settlement. Yuchu, your ramen. Shen Qingluan pushed open Qin Yochu's office door, placed the food container on the desk with a smile, but didn't leave. Instead, she familiarly pulled over a chair and sat down beside her. Thanks, Sister Qingluan. I was just about to go down and get it. Are you having Lanzhou ramen today? Shen Qingluan asked, seemingly casually. Wow, the noodles and broth are packed separately. Is Fu Hang always this thoughtful? Qin Yuchu didn't answer Shen Qingluan's question, instead opening the food container directly. He's, all right, I guess. Shen Qingluan's expression looked a little unnatural. So much meat. That looks like a double portion of meat. Shen Qingluan glanced, her smile returning. Such a luxury. Back in the school cafeteria, I only ever dared to eat plain noodles. Qin Yuchu broke apart her chopsticks and put a large mouthful of beef in her mouth. Huh? What? Poor. Qin Yuchu lowered her head and took another sip of soup. Shen Qingluan looked up in surprise, but saw Qin Yuchu just eating seriously, with no trace of anything unusual on her face. At 3 in the afternoon, Fu Hang received a phone call that was both expected and unexpected according to his plan. Big bro. The tone on the other end of the line was very respectful. Baldy. Fu Hang's eyes narrowed, and he rolled off the bed again. Over the past 3 years, he felt this milk tea shop was his most successful investment. Big bro, you can call me how long. Are the people here? Fu Hang cut straight through the pleasantries. They arrived last night. Where are they? We've got them detained. We intercepted them right at the train station. Didn't let them get near the school. Good job. Thanks. Fu Hang let out a long sigh of relief. Although he had a plan, he'd still felt uneasy. He knew very well what kind of commotion people like them would cause if they actually reached the school. It's just that there's something I feel I should report to you first. Baldy hesitated on the other end. Did something go wrong? I don't know if you call it an accident, but yesterday, after we detained them and showed them the IOU, before we even scared them much, the old couple caved. Looks like they've been through this before. Did they pay up? Fu Hang sneered inwardly. Trash like them. No money. But this morning, when we were thinking of scaring them a bit more, they suddenly said this wasn't their daughter and has no relation to them. What? That's bullshit. Fu Hang was stunned. We thought so too at first. We've seen this kind of trick many times. So we pressed them to show proof. Baldy's tone became increasingly strange. And they did. Fu Hang sensed something was off. They did. They made a call, had a neighbor pick their lock, get it from a cabinet, and then send a photo over. What was it? Adoption papers. They said Dasa was found by them. Only 6 months old when they found her. The papers were processed later. Verified. Verified. I had my guys pull some strings over there, check with the relevant departments. That's why it took until now. Fu Hang suddenly understood, and the knot of frustration in his heart loosened. Those bastards. No wonder. But damn it, even if she wasn't their biological child, they raised her for over 20 years, didn't they? In that instant, he suddenly, viscerally felt the weight of Qin Yochu's words. They favor boys over girls, extreme favoritism. How on earth did she get through her childhood? Does Yochu know about this? Fu Hang quickly composed himself. Not yet. As soon as I got the news, I reported it to you first. Tell her. A bit later, Fu Hang said coldly after a long moment of thought. Bastards like that, the sooner she cuts ties, the better. It'll be a kind of liberation for her. All right then, this couple. Let them go. Huh? Oh, okay. I'll arrange it in a bit. And then, have someone follow them. When they get back to their hometown, I want them in jail. Huh? Baldy's voice clearly rose a few pitches. Can you do it? Fu Hang's tone was exceptionally cold, sending a shiver down Baldy's spine, even through the phone. Jail time is no problem. For scum like them, even without setting them up, there are plenty of ways to get them put away. The question is, for how long? Baldy fully utilized his professional expertise, meticulously assessing the feasibility of the plan in his mind. 10 years. I'll give you $1 million. If it's a day less, I'll serve it myself, Baldy replied with extreme decisiveness. You just need to follow them for now. For the specific operation, I'll have someone contact you, a lawyer. He'll provide professional advice on sentencing. The call ended. Fu Hang sat in the milk tea shop for a long time without leaving, until the system's daily salary arrived and the shop assistants finished cleaning and left. He still hadn't seen the person he thought would show up. In front of him, a sealed cup of mango pomelo sago sat, untouched. At 8:45 a.m., Fu Hang made his first unprofessional mistake in 3 years. Looking for Qin Yochu? Shen Qingluan, her face frosty and eyes brimming with jealousy, glared at Fu Hang, who was looking around. It was hard to tell how much of her expression was genuine. Huh? No. How could I? Fu Hang lowered his head awkwardly, alarm bells ringing in his mind. Damn it. What's wrong with me? Zoning out in front of client? Sure. After yesterday's settlement, Shen Qingluan's favorability score had risen by 1 point to 68. 66%, but it wasn't so high that he'd intentionally try to lower it. Given Shen Qingluan's level, he'd have to suck up for a long time to get her to 90%. Forget it. Give it to me. I'll take it to her. Shen Qingluan pouted, glaring playfully, and snatched the food container from Fu Hang's hand, her high heels clicking sharply on the floor. Fu Hang let out a long breath, mentally calculating how many points this would cost him. Hopefully not too many. Dropping below a certain value wouldn't affect the settlement, but it would impact his performance review. He involuntarily scanned his surroundings again, but still didn't see her. Could she be at class today? Should I go to the university? Or call her? After what happened yesterday. On his orders, Guangtou should have informed Qin Yochu last night. No matter how strong she was still just a college girl. Damn it all. What am I thinking? Qin Yochu isn't a client. What are you muttering about? An unexpected voice sounded beside him as he stepped into the milk tea shop. What are you doing here? Fu Hang's eyes widened. She was wearing the same plain white professional suit, but today her bangs were parted, framing the corners of her eyes. She was casually sitting right in the middle of the milk tea shop, cupping a drink and sipping at it vigorously. Just drinking milk tea. This flavor seems pretty good too. Qin Yochu blinked, wiggling the Mei Fei Sei Wu in her hand. Shouldn't you be at work already? Fu Hang pointed to the wall clock, which read 9:17. I only need to work 1 day a week. I've already been in for 3 days this week. Qin Yochu mumbled, chewing on the bobo pearls in her mouth. Then you should be back at university, attending classes. You should be focusing on your studies. Don't end up not graduating. Fu Hang said fiercely, plopping down in the seat opposite her. And to think I went 7 blocks out of my way to buy you those old Wong's soup dumplings. I've finished all my senior year courses. I'm just waiting to start my master's. You still need to prepare properly for the entrance exams then. Fu Hang retorted, unconvinced. So what if she's a top student? Haven't you heard of direct admission to grad school? Fu Hang deflated, letting his head fall heavily onto the table. You're free until noon, right? Qin Yuchu leaned forward too, resting her chin on the other side of the table. What do you want? Fu Hang turned his head, facing away. System? Just give it to me straight. What's not up to par with this girl? I'll tell her, make her change it. Come with me somewhere. Qin Yuchu blinked. I'm working, Fu Hang grumbled, exasperated. Deliveries? Qin Yuchu's head remained still, her lively eyes darting left and right. Selling milk tea. This shop is mine. Fu Hang straightened up. I know. That's why I didn't pay for this. Qin Yuchu lifted her milk tea and took another vigorous sip. Coming or not? Where to? Fu Hang sighed, finally looking her in the eye. To say goodbye to my past life. Qin Yuchu's voice was remarkably calm. Fu Hang's pupils quivered slightly. Okay. Fu Hang stood up. Here. Qin Yuchu smiled, pulling out her phone and sending him a location. Fu Hang opened his phone and glanced at it. It was a neighborhood near Hanqing University. Did Guantou lock them up here? Let's go. My car is parked at the mall up ahead. Fu Hang turned to leave. No need for a car. This will do. Qin Yuchu pointed to the electric scooter by the door. Take this. It'll take at least 40 minutes to get there, won't it? 2 hours round trip. Fu Hang hesitated. What's Shen Qingluan having for lunch? Qin Yuchu suddenly turned her head. She didn't actually say. Can you skip delivering it? Fu Hang turned his head, and they looked at each other. It wasn't like there was a strict rule requiring him to pay homage morning and night, like offering incense 3 times a day. It was just that Fu Hang didn't have much else to do, and it had become a habit. Fine. One day won't make a difference. Fu Hang took a breath. Still at 68. 66%. Missing 1 meal won't drop it much. Worst case, I'll work overtime tonight. Oh yeah. Qin Yuchu hopped happily on the spot, then trotted over to the electric scooter and hopped on a back seat. Wait a sec. I'll go borrow a helmet. After borrowing a helmet from a milk tea shop staff, Fu Hang, under their admiring gazes and with his own internal BGM playing, got on the electric scooter. There was a small hiccup before they left. When Fu Hang offered the borrowed helmet to Qin Yuchu, she flatly refused to wear it, insisting on wearing his. But his helmet was a company-issued little yellow hat, and Fu Hang was used to it. Wearing a different helmet felt awkward riding on the road. After a few rounds of back and forth, Fu Hang was utterly defeated and ended up wearing the helmet with a lazy bear perched on top. The little e-scooter weaved through the bustling city, enveloped by the autumn air, a cool breeze scattering fallen leaves. Fu Hang's expression was serious, focused. He couldn't imagine the scene that awaited them, nor did he dare to. He could only concentrate on riding, keenly aware of the hands resting lightly on his waist and the warmth pressing against his back. She's so smart, so why are they still so big? A little after 10, Fu Hang stopped at the entrance of a residential complex, following the navigation. He looked inside suspiciously. It was a mid-range complex with decent facilities due to its proximity to the university town. Over here, Qin Yuchu got off the scooter, waving energetically in one direction. A man in a sharp suit saw her and hurried over. Fu Hang frowned. Guantou has guys like this working for him? Wouldn't it be better to swap him with a receptionist? Making someone like this do field work? Indeed, every profession has its blind spots. Hello, I'm Qin Yuchu. We've spoken before. Hello, Miss Qin. The man frowned slightly, his gaze sweeping quickly over the electric scooter, the yellow vest, the little yellow helmet, and Fu Hang, before finally landing on Qin Yuchu's face, where his smile returned. Fu Hang twitched his lip, feeling like he'd just been discriminated against. Guantou's subordinates really need to improve their professionalism. Should I remind this guy how his 5 colleagues ended up flying? This way, please. Building 12, apartment 909. Perhaps sensing a threat from Fu Hang, the suited man acted decisively. Let's go. Qin Yuchu suddenly took Fu Hang's hand and quickened her pace to follow. Fu Hang's body instinctively tensed. Heaven knows this was the first. No, the 3rd time a girl had proactively taken his hand. Shen Qingluan had done it once, and client number 3 had done it once. But those times were fleeting, a mere touch and go. And the instant their fingers touched, Fu Hang could discern the purpose, the meaning behind the hand-holding, the emotions the woman wanted to convey, and even her strategic intentions. But now, why did it feel so natural? Maybe she's nervous? After all, considering what she's about to face. Fu Hang told himself, and then firmly grasped Qin Yochu's hand in return. So, you dragged me here early in the morning to look at apartments? In Unit 909, Building 12, Fu Hang practically roared the question. What else would it be? Qin Yuchu replied innocently. You? Where are your parents? Fu Hang's eyes widened. How should I know? Weren't they your arrangement? Fu Hang choked. But they're your parents. Not biologically. You're perfectly fine. What do you need a new place for? Didn't you say you wanted to move on from the past? Isn't buying a new home and starting fresh exactly how one moves on? Qin Yuchu tilted her head, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. The real estate agent tactfully slipped out to the balcony. He'd seen scenes like this play out many times. It was just, this girl didn't seem to have the looks or tactics for this game. If you're going to fish, at least aim for better quality. What could you even squeeze out of food delivery guy? Seems like she hasn't figured out where she stands. He'd already received a call. Should he introduce her to someone after this is done? He perked up, eavesdropping while mentally calculating his own plans. So, what do you think of the place? Like it? If you like it, that's what matters. Fu Hang slumped down onto the sofa, defeated. The place was actually decent. Though it was a second-hand unit, it was nicely renovated, almost brand new. The appliances and furniture looked well-maintained. It was likely owner-occupied. With north-south ventilation, 2 bedrooms, and a living room, it spanned close to 90 square meters. Plenty of space for a family of 3. Great value, and very comfortable. I like it a lot. Let's go with this one. Pay up. Manager Liu. Qin Yuchu called out toward the balcony. What? I'm paying. Manager Liu had to step back in and immediately froze, then retreated again. I don't have money. I still owe you hundreds of thousands, remember? Fu Hang let out a cold laugh. This apartment wasn't in the city center, but it was right next to the university district. Easily 20,000 per square meter. The total? Around 2 million. Why would he buy it for her? She wasn't even a real client. At least with clients, you could write the gift off as a business expense. It wasn't coming out of his own pocket. What? You're not willing? Qin Yuchu looked genuinely surprised. Manager Liu, how much is this place total? Fu Hang shouted toward the balcony. With all fees included, 2.01 million. If you're planning to mortgage. Don't need the rest. Fu Hang cut him off and gave Qin Yuchu a look that said, you hear that? 2 million. Not 200. This wasn't a cup of milk tea. Not to mention, all those meals I bought you? That was out of my own pocket. So, you're not willing? Qin Yuchu's face fell. The watch on Shen Qingluan's wrist. You gave it to her, didn't you? I checked. It's worth 157,000. A limited edition BLD collector's model, and it's increased in value since. Are you threatening me now? Fu Hang's eye twitched. Manager Liu looked at Fu Hang like he was some god of wealth. And he doubted this girl? Was Fu Hang some kind of hidden millionaire? Girl, keep going. You said you'd give me a company worth billions, but now you're hesitating over a 2 million apartment. Did I say I'd give you the company? You did. You said if I gave you the share transfer agreement, you'd sign it on the spot. Fine, bring the agreement. The company's yours. Fu Hang snapped. He'd had enough of this company. If it weren't for the damn thing, would he be in this mess? At the mercy of some little intern who wasn't even a client? I don't want the company. I want the apartment. Qin Yuchu lifted her chin. 20 minutes later, under Manager Liu's stunned gaze, Fu Hang completed the full payment transfer. So about the paperwork. Manager Liu probed cautiously. Put both our names on the deed, Qin Yuchu said with a radiant smile. No need. Fu Hang sat back on the sofa, lighting the cigarette Manager Liu had just handed him. Then this'll count as premarital property, Qin Yuchu pressed. Fu Hang took a long drag and turned his face away in silence. Manager Liu gave Qin Yuchu a secret thumbs up. Ruthless. Thanks for your help, Manager Liu. My friend will follow up with you for the formalities. He's a lawyer. Qin Yuchu took charge like a proper homeowner. Your friend's not Zhang Xiang, is he? Yep. He's the only lawyer I know. She said it like it was obvious. You're ordering Zhang Xiang around? Fu Hang was speechless. That guy was the legal rep for the system itself. Fu Hang was always careful and polite with him. What do you mean ordering around? He's the company lawyer. I'm the CEO's assistant. I'm just asking him to do me a favor. In the end, Manager Liu left in a daze, handing over all the spare keys. Qin Yuchu happily toured the house again, leaning over the balcony railing, gazing out over the neighborhood. After a while, she turned to glance at Fu Hang, still sulking and smoking in the living room. The smile on her lips slowly faded. From now on, you're all I've got. She lowered her head and pinched the bridge of her nose, trying to suppress the emotions that didn't belong in this moment. Because they'd gotten the new place, Fu Hang was dragged to the mall that afternoon to pick out household essentials. From the looks of it, Qin Yuchu planned to move in immediately. Thankfully, this time, she didn't force Fu Hang to pay for everything. To be precise, she didn't entirely make him foot the bill. Things like a water dispenser, rice cooker, robotic vacuum. Even the cost of changing the locks, she still insisted Fu Hang cover. But after spending $2 million, he didn't care about the extras. He paid up smoothly, even feeling like he was back on the job, like accompanying a client on a shopping trip. Yet for all the practical purchases, items like toothbrushes, towels, sheets, slippers, and utensils were all double sets, and in matching colors. Okay, seriously, you're living alone. Why buy everything in pairs? And couple style no less. Fu Hang finally couldn't hold back. Qin Yuchu. Young, elegant, charming, utterly fabulous. How can my house not have a man? She looked at Fu Hang like he was an idiot. His pupils contracted. His expression stiffened for a moment. In that instant, images flashed through his mind. The apartment he'd just bought that morning, rendered in 3D clarity. Qin Yuchu washing dishes in the kitchen, while a man in an apron vacuumed the floor. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't picture that man's face. He shook his head violently and walked out without a word. He couldn't accept the idea of another man being there, not even if that man was himself. He wasn't done yet. He still had a promising future. He wanted yacht parties. He wanted champagne nights, reckless indulgence. Dinner? Qin Yuchu asked, arms full of bags, looking up at her new home with a satisfied smile. Wait. Fu Hang glanced at the time. 5:37 p.m. Technically, he'd skipped work today. You like? Qin Yuchu turned curiously toward him, only to see Fu Hang's eyes glued to his smartwatch with a deadly serious expression. He usually didn't wear watches, especially those given by the system. Wearing one in public was risky. These days, tea artists were sharp-eyed and vicious. This particular watch? Bought by Qin Yuchu earlier that afternoon, under the excuse of returning the favor. To be honest, it was the most expensive gift he'd ever received, priced at 2,213 yuan after discount. Clients in the past had given small gifts, scarves, socks, gloves, lighters, things that had proven useful in key moments for both offense and defense. 5:45 p.m. Daily salary credited. Yen 100,000 current target. Shen Qingluan favorability, 70. 12% please continue your efforts, host. At least you've still got a conscience. Fu Hang clenched his fists, his body finally relaxing. You talking to me? Qin Yuchu raised an eyebrow. No. Done with work now. Let's eat. What do you want? Fu Hang was suddenly carefree. The whole day's frustration instantly evaporated. But seriously, what was up with Shen Qingluan? He skipped work all day, and her favorability still went up. Girl, you got issues. Outside Hanshin University, nestled along the bustling food street, the two of them sat inside a dingy hole-in-the-wall eatery. The place had been picked by Qin Yuchu. My roommates are always raving about how amazing this place is. I finally get to try it today, she said as she swiftly wiped down the table with napkins and proceeded to order nearly everything she'd ever heard them mention. You've never been here before? Fu Hang asked, sounding almost surprised. Of course not, she shot him a look. Students living off poverty grants. How could I afford to eat here? And now you're not afraid someone from school might see you? Fu Hang asked, trying to mask his discomfort by turning his head away. I already submitted the paperwork to cancel the grant. Besides, everyone's saying I'm being kept by someone now. What's one good meal, really? She replied calmly. Fu Hang frowned, his eyes narrowing as he looked at her. He hadn't considered this. For someone who had been known as a poor student, such a drastic change in lifestyle was bound to spark rumors on a college campus. What? Staring at me like that. Are they wrong? She asked. You don't care what they say? Would it help if I did? But didn't you tell me to dress well, eat well, and live better on campus? Qin Yuchu arched a brow at him. I'm sorry, I didn't think it through, Fu Hang said, clearly feeling guilty. Do you like the new me? Her tone shifted, and she suddenly looked serious. Fu Hang hesitated, then picked up the sanitized chopsticks and set them in front of her. Honestly, it's not quite what I imagined. Then I'll keep working on it, she said, turning to look at the crowds outside the window. I can be whatever you want. I'm smart like that. Qin Yuchu. A cheerful voice broke the moment, just as the dishes began arriving. Qin Yuchu blinked, turning toward the voice. Hi, what a surprise running into you here. We spoke over the phone before. I'm Fong Zhe, from the drama club, the bright, sunny-looking guy said, his voice rich and pleasant. Fu Hang perked up immediately, putting down his chopsticks and focusing on the newcomer. It's happening. Finally, the moment I've been waiting for. Yes, Her transformation wasn't quite what he had imagined. The reason the system hadn't recognized her yet wasn't because she wasn't good enough. It was because she wasn't scheming enough. She wasn't enough to match the system's criteria. This was the ultimate simp system, after all. If she got results before even beginning to grovel, it would defeat the entire premise. Scheming, manipulating, playing the field, that was the true path of the simp. And T skills could be learned. She was smart. She figured out. Hello. Qin Yuchu smiled as she turned toward Fong Zhe, noticing the subtle shift in Fu Hang's demeanor. Her smile was masterfully done, just the right amount, not too much, not too little. It was charming yet distant, approachable but not inviting. Fu Hang nearly clapped in admiration. That was it. That was exactly the flavor he wanted. Knew she could do it. System? System? Some applause would be nice right about now. What a coincidence. And this is... Fong Zhe finally noticed Fu Hang, his tone polite. A friend, Fu Hang said quickly, unable to stop himself. His smile was tight, forced, with a hint of discontent, a touch of restraint, and just a sliver of provocation. Qin Yuchu said nothing, merely giving Fu Hang an amused look, fingers under the table, pinching her thigh to keep from laughing. Is your friend also from our university? I don't think I've seen him before, Fong Zhe asked, his presence commanding. Stage training, no doubt. This was how you controlled a room. I graduated years ago, Fu Hang replied, his smile beginning to fade, though inside he was thoroughly entertained. Oh, and where are you working now? Just a small business. I run a bubble tea shop, Fu Hang said, wiping the corners of his mouth with a napkin before standing up slightly, adjusting his posture. Bubble tea? Also in University Town. Fong Zhe seemed completely oblivious to Fu Hang's not-so-subtle signals, his polite smile unwavering. At Century Plaza, Fu Hang said, shifting his weight. This kid, too green, making me crane my neck like this. How tiring. You should sit down now and take the lead. Standing there like a showpiece. What good is all that presence if she doesn't even know you? Coming on too strong just makes girls uncomfortable. You came here to eat? Qin Yuchu finally asked. Yeah, with a few friends from the student council. Oh, I'm eating too, she said, blinking innocently. Sorry to interrupt then. I'll head back. It was great seeing you, Fong Zhe said, clearly flustered now. He'd hoped to keep chatting, but when he saw Qin Yuchu look down and pick up her chopsticks again, he left with a sheepish grin. Sigh. Fu Hang let out a long breath, shaking his head slightly. College life. What a mess. Qin Yuchu suddenly looked up, her gaze fixed intently on Fu Hang. Ahem. Eat, Fu Hang said, pulling his neck back like a turtle. Why didn't you tell him you do delivery? She asked, putting her chopsticks down. Kid's got too much presence. Saying I deliver food would throw the whole vibe off. Then why didn't you tell him you're the CEO of Yuanbo Trading? Didn't want to scare the kid. Eat. Fu Hang gently placed a piece of pork rib in her bowl. He saw. Who? Who saw? Fu Hang feigned ignorance. Just a drama club guy, right? Gotta rattle him a bit. This kid probably thinks he can just walk in, puff his chest, and steal the girl. That's not how simping works. Qin Yuchu chuckled, picking up the rib. Then suddenly, the phone on the table rang loudly. Fu Hang's phone. They both turned to look at it. Caller ID. Shen Qingluan. Damn it. Fu Hang slapped his forehead. Crap. Forgot to shut it off after work. Shouldn't have worn the smartwatch. Got distracted checking it during settlement and totally forgot. The system had settled the account as usual, but he'd skipped the entire day. Deep down, he was still nervous. Are you going to answer it? Qin Yuchu asked, reading his expression. Hey, Qingluan, he said the moment he picked up, his voice instantly infused with excitement. Qin Yuchu frowned, but to Fu Hang's surprise, not out of jealousy. She actually seemed curious. No, just having dinner. With a few guys. Fu Hang glanced at Qin Yuchu, then quickly looked down again. You're still at the office? Did you eat? Want me to bring you something? It's no trouble, I'm close by. Just finished eating, actually. MHM, I know, no spice. Want me to drive you home later? Oh, okay, that works. My car's a little far anyway. When the call ended, Fu Hang looked completely mortified. He'd never run into this situation before. Usually, he scheduled things with perfect precision to avoid overlap. But Qin Yuchu wasn't technically a client. Let's go, she said suddenly, setting down her chopsticks. Huh? Fu Hang blinked. Wasn't she supposed to dump water over his head now? What's Qingluan having? She asked, ignoring his confusion as she dabbed her lips and reached for her coat. Spicy hot pot. She didn't say which place, right? I think there's one nearby. I'll come with you. Yuchu. Let's go. The company's on the way to my place anyway. You can drop me off. No buses this late. Taxis are expensive, and these heels. You're not finishing your food? Fu Hang asked, glancing at the table full of untouched dishes. I came to taste the flavor. I've tasted it. Don't forget to pay. I've got a room to tidy up tonight. Won't sleep otherwise. She gave him a sweet smile and walked out ahead of him. Standing downstairs from her new apartment, Qin Yochu's desire to go up suddenly vanished. Turning around, she looked at the empty entrance of the residential complex, her brow slowly furrowing. I just don't understand you anymore. You clearly have feelings for me, yet you avoid me like the plague. You clearly don't like her, yet you flock to her. It's not what you think. Am I supposed to be like Shen Qingluan? But you don't even like her. For the next few days, Qin Yuchu didn't go to the company and finally returned to her classes. Her reappearance on campus caused the Hanqing University's online forum to explode, and the buzz even spread to the forums of several nearby universities. The hot topic was, of course, the dramatic campus beauty rankings. In this hormone-fueled ivory tower, such subjects were always a source of endless, irresistible gossip. Especially concerning Qin Yuchu, there were other controversies. Campus beauty, poor student, top student, goddess. And, being a sugar baby, it seemed most female students believed that for a woman to change so drastically in such a short time, there had to be some truth to the rumors. The male students, however, prefer to believe they'd simply been blind before. The forums were ablaze with arguments, praise, slander, snide remarks, and staunch defenses. Yuchu, I bought this milk tea for you. In a corner of the cafeteria, Qin Yuchu reluctantly looked up, frowning and pouting, her eyes filled with confusion. I saw you drinking this yesterday, so I thought you'd like it. The sunny, cheerful boy smiled and, to her surprise, sat down directly opposite her. Compared to the tentative approaches of other guys these past few days, this one was quite bold. Yesterday's was a gift from President Fong. Qin Yuchu gave a faint smile, lowered her head, and continued eating in small bites. Fong Zhe, from the drama club. A hint of disdain flickered across the boy's face, but he hid it well. Cold drinks aren't good for girls. This one is hot. It'll warm your stomach. Taking matters into his own hands, the boy moved the iced milk tea already on the table to the side and pushed the one he'd just brought in front of Qin Yuchu. That one was left by Vice Chairman Liu of the Student Council. Qin Yuchu didn't even look up. The one who just walked by? The boy grinned, tilting his chin up defiantly. To be fair, the boy had a well-defined jawline, and combined with his height, he was indeed handsome, at least more masculine than Fu Hang. More accurately, the one who's about to walk over. Qin Yuchu still didn't look up, using her spoon to cut off a small piece of a lion's head meatball, coat it with some rice, and pop it in her mouth. Hearing this, the boy froze, then turned his head in surprise. Sure enough, he saw Student Council Vice Chairman Liu Junkai approaching with a displeased look, a small box in his hand. Student Qin Yuchu, this is the new fruit cup from the West Cafeteria. As he got closer, Liu Junkai had already plastered on a smile. I'm allergic to mangoes. Qin Yuchu glanced at the fruit cup, looking up with an expression of innocent regret. Liu Junkai looked completely stunned. Ha ha ha. The boy suddenly burst into unrestrained laughter. What are you laughing at? Liu Junkai, embarrassed and angry, snapped. I'm happy, of course. I learned something new about Yuchu, so naturally, I'm happy. I'll remember, Yuchu, no mangoes for you. The boy was completely unfazed. I'm finished eating. You too. Can chat while you drink. Qin Yuchu put down her spoon, gave a polite nod to both of them, and stood up with her tray. Thanks for the milk tea. As she was leaving, she picked up the iced one. You're welcome, as long as you like it. Liu Junkai's expression brightened instantly, a smile blooming on his face as he shot a defiant glare at the other boy. Qin Yuchu, my name is Lei Lu, and I'm going to pursue you. The boy completely ignored Liu Junkai's glare, picked up the milk tea he had brought, and shouted loudly at Qin Yuchu's retreating back. His voice carried through almost the entire cafeteria, drawing stares from everyone around. Lei Lu was something of a minor internet celebrity at Hanqing University. A music major, he had a small following, thanks to his striking looks and some fans on campus. Regarding the public declaration behind her, Qin Yuchu acted as if she might have heard it, or perhaps not. She merely turned her head slightly, gave Lei Lu a calm glance, and continued walking forward at her usual unhurried pace. Her steps were light, yet steady, with a distinctive rhythm. Show off. Liu Junkai shot Lei Lu a disdainful glare and turned to leave. But as he left, he still gazed reluctantly at the retreating figure in a plain hoodie and jeans, her hair tied in a ponytail. His eyes were full of infatuation and burning desire. Sigh, it's going to be hard to attend classes peacefully from now on. Is this what you wanted? Carrying the milk tea, Qin Yuchu strolled through the campus, but she was heading towards the main gate. Ever since she got the apartment, she hadn't returned to the dorm. Just as she reached the main gate, a ride-hailing car pulled up in front of her. "Driver, please have this milk tea." Qin Yuchu checked the license plate, opened the car door, and got in. The driver looked a bit surprised. "A classmate bought it for me, but I can't drink ice things." Qin Yuchu smiled and glanced back at the school gate. Even though the car door was closed, she could still feel the gazes that constantly followed her. The feeling of being watched wasn't actually pleasant. The car's destination was Century Plaza. The usually chatty ride-hailing driver, for some reason, didn't say an unnecessary word, merely focusing on driving while occasionally, and seemingly unintentionally, glancing at the back seat through the rearview mirror. "Boss lady? You haven't been here in days." Seeing Qin Yuchu push open the door, the milk tea shop employee greeted her warmly. Qin Yuchu smiled, a very sweet smile. "An iced mango sago, extra mango. Coming right up." The employee responded cheerfully. "Who told you she's the boss lady?" The curtain on the second floor was pulled aside, and a head poked out. The employee ducked their head slightly and winked at Qin Yuchu. Qin Yuchu didn't say anything, just tilted her head up, a smile on her face, and quietly looked at him. "You look pretty free, don't you?" Fu Heng didn't dare to meet her eyes directly, his gaze shifting away. The lion's head meatballs at the cafeteria were too salty at lunch. "I needed something sweet to balance it out." "Doesn't Hanqing University have milk tea shops?" "The ones that are expensive, and this one's free." Qin Yuchu raised an eyebrow matter-of-factly. Swish! The curtain was forcefully pulled shut. Flopping back heavily onto the Simmons mattress, Fu Heng took a deep breath. His heart was pounding abnormally. That look Qin Yuchu had given him just now, he felt like he'd been thoroughly teased. The sound of footsteps coming upstairs reached him. Fu Heng, who had just lain flat, instantly tensed up, his eyes wide as he stared at the thin curtain. Sure enough, the next moment, the curtain was lifted. "What do you want?" Fu Heng instinctively scooted further in, covering his chest with his hands. "This is where you work?" Qin Yuchu frowned, looking around. The second floor was originally a loft-style mezzanine. It used to have 3 booths, but now with all the seating removed, it looked quite spacious. There was nothing superfluous. Right in the middle was a comfortable-looking double bed. At the foot of the bed hung Fu Heng's delivery uniform and his ever-present backpack. A long power strip ran from the wall to the bed, with 2 phones plugged in and charging. "What's so strange? I'm the boss. I decide how my office is set up." Fu Heng shifted his shoulders uncomfortably and sat up straighter on the bed. "Why do I get the feeling this isn't exactly a legitimate milk tea shop?" Qin Yuchu suppressed a laugh and sat down on the edge of the bed, a move that made Fu Heng look even more uneasy.